45%. Chapter 261 The Tragic Banshee. After dealing with the spoils of war, accompanied by 2 angels and a maid, Lin Yu arrived outside the hall of the Overlord. At a glance, he saw the bone dragon, over 100 meters long, imprisoned in the territory square. At this moment, it seemed to be crawling on the ground, feeling somewhat desolate. Facing it was Lin Yu's towering belief statue, hundreds of meters tall. It could be seen that the body of the large bone dragon was trembling. Clearly, it was in a state of extreme fear. This was because Paradise Town was filled with a strong aura of holiness and light, which was extremely unfriendly to it as an undead creature. It made it feel like it could be crushed at any moment. In addition, angels were everywhere in this territory. And not just holy angels, but also black-winged angels with a large physique and an aura of evil from the underworld. The underworld was its destination. It naturally recognized this aura. It was unbelievable that there were still angels from the underworld in the world. The underworld, isn't that the realm of the death gods? My lord. An elegant and noble figure approached, respectfully bowing to Lin Yu. Lin Yu nodded, his gaze falling on Angelia's exquisite and beautiful face, and said, "Is this bone dragon a scout from the Bone Temple?" "Yes, my lord," Angelia said. "Following your divine oracle, we waited all night and finally captured it. In addition to it, we also captured a naga." Following Secretary Anne's gaze, Lin Yu looked over. Lin Yu indeed saw the naga imprisoned next to the bone dragon. Apart from the legs, the naga was basically similar to a normal human. Compared to the massive size of the bone dragon, she appeared extremely small. So much so that Lin Yu didn't notice her at first. In terms of appearance, it is indeed very similar to the description in the novel, human body with a snake tail, beautiful face. If the hair were replaced with snake hair, then it would be Medusa. At this moment, Lin Yu suddenly noticed that the naga's ears were surprisingly similar to those of an elf, and she emitted a faint elven aura. What's going on? Could it be that the naga also belongs to the elven race? Lin Yu was somewhat puzzled, so he had Angelia bring the naga over. Soon, the naga appeared in front of Lin Yu, her saint rank power sealed tightly by Angelia. Not to mention resistance, she could barely even stand. The naga had no legs, relying on her slender snake tail for support. Due to her extremely weak body, she could only barely stand upright. Lin Yu's gaze swept over the naga's partially exposed snowy white chest, her enchanting S-shaped curves, and finally landed on her delicate cheeks, asking, "What is your name?" "I am an overlord from another world, human. You won't get any information from me." This naga snorted arrogantly. "Lowly heretic. Don't you kneel before the great lord of holy light." Secretary and didn't tolerate her, slapping the arrogant naga to the ground. Before the naga could get up, 8-winged seeker angel Elena beside her waved her divine staff, showering the naga with a brilliant rain of light. After a moment, the naga submitted. She devoutly knelt before Lin Yu. "Praise you, great lord of holy light. Your follower Daphne greets you." Quote. The stark contrast between the before and after made the corners of Lin Yu's mouth twitch involuntarily. Well, the advantage of being an angel is not having to resort to torture for confessions. A divine spell took care of it. Lin Yu then asked about his previous doubts. Naga Daphne replied, "Ing to the Holy Lord, our Naga clan does indeed inherit the bloodline of the nature spirits, but that was a very ancient time ago." Immediately, Naga Daphne went on to explain the relevant information. In essence, during the Holy Demon War, their ancestors were still nature spirits. In that war, their ancestors were tempted by the evil Dark Titan and their bloodline was corrupted by evil forces, resulting in a physical transformation. After countless years of evolution, they eventually became the Naga clan as it is now. In addition, the Dark Elf clan also appeared during that era. However, they were different from the Naga. The Dark Elf clan was influenced by the Dark Goddess. Until later, the Dark Goddess abandoned the Dark Elf clan, directly causing the Dark Elves to become a faithless race. Dark Titan. Lin Yu was somewhat surprised. He didn't expect that besides Thunder Titan and Storm Titan, there was also the evil Dark Titan in the world. Angelia explained on the side, "My lord, indeed, during the Holy Demon War, a part of the intelligent races did betray their faith and joined the embrace of the Void Demon. Among them were also some Titans. They succumbed to the power of demons and even abandoned the source of thunder. In the end, they transformed into Dark Titans, betraying the Myriad Worlds camp and joining forces with demons. So that's how it is." Lin Yu suddenly realized and understood the origin of the Dark Titan. Then, Lin Yu looked at Naga Daphne again and asked for more secrets about the Naga clan. Naga Daphne was also open about everything. Facing the god of faith, she had no reservations. From Daphne, Lin Yu also learned that a long time ago, the Naga clan's headquarters was not in the dark forest, but in the southern seas. They established their own kingdom in the ocean. They even had sea tribes loyal to them. Occasionally, fishermen would catch a glimpse of their figures, and for various reasons, they earned the title of evil nymphs. The reason they came to the dark forest was because with the rise of the dragon clan, they ruled the 36 Bay Islands, which made it impossible for them to protect their own waters, so they had to choose to migrate as a whole. As for why they didn't go to the deep sea, that's because the deep sea is the territory of the Medusa. Although the Naga and the Medusa look very similar, both having human bodies and snake tails, the two races have no relation whatsoever. The Medusa clan, who claimed to have divine bloodline, was very proud and unwilling to accept these evil nymphs, so in the end, the Naga clan could only flee to the dark forest. It can only be said that they are a group of tragic nymphs. Lin Yu felt that he had a duty to save them, to let these nymphs live freely in the vast sea they yearned for in the future. Overall, the situation of the Naga clan is better than that of the Dark Elf clan. At least they have not been expelled to the cold, damp underground world where the sun cannot shine. Therefore, the race that Lin Yu wants to save has increased by one. After a moment, the bone dragon was also brought over. As soon as it approached, this huge saint-rank pinnacle bone dragon knelt down on the ground without any dignity, begging Lin Yu and secretary and in fear, "I beg you not to kill me, I will be very obedient. Don't worry, I won't kill you. On the contrary, I will give you a chance." As he spoke, Lin Yu reached into the void and pulled out the super divine weapon Origin Scepter. Then, using the creative power within the Origin Scepter, he ignited the power of faith, ultimately generating a mysterious energy that enveloped the bone dragon in front of him. 45%. Chapter 262 Army of the Undead, Naga Warship. Just as Lin Yu was using the power of creation to influence the saint-rank bone dragon, the three local transcendent level forces in the dark forest also made significant movements. To the north, there was a vast army of undead. They were crossing mountains and marching at high speed. The variety of undead in the army was greater than that of the undead creatures that appeared at night. Even among this army of undead, human figures could be seen. Each of them held a staff, wearing uniform black robes with a golden everlasting flower embroidered on their chests. The everlasting flower grows on the path to the underworld and never withers. The embroidered everlasting flower on their robes signifies their affiliation with the dark forces, symbolizing their desire and pursuit of immortality. They are elementalists of the evil camp. Most of them are undead mages, with a few being dark mages. Bountiful Great Lands is the territory of the Holy See, and many local human practitioners who worship the evil gods have been besieged. Some of them have fled into the dark forest and joined the Lich King who rules the Bone Temple. In addition to these human elementalists, there are many undead elementalists in the army. They all possess the power of necromancy. Under their control, this vast army of undead moves through the jungle at an astonishing speed, their agility surpassing that of wild monsters. At the same time, they consciously drive away the wild monsters and head towards the direction of the heavenly town. Above the army of undead, there stood thousands of figures. They are all powerful beings. The lowest among them have reached the level of transcendent, and there are more than 100 saint-rank creatures. Leading them is the Lich King. Sitting on a bone throne made of unknown creatures' skeletons, it is enveloped in a strong aura of death, making it look like a black mist. Mysterious and terrifying. Your Majesty. A figure in a black robe stood beside the bone throne and asked, "The bone dragon has not returned for a whole night, and there is no news. Could something have happened?" This is an elderly human dark mage. His level has reached the early stage of demigod. He joined the Lich King not because of the Lich King's strong personal charm, but because the Lich King has control over his soul. Lich is best at manipulating souls. Many years ago, when he was still at the saint rank, he became a servant of the Lich King. With his outstanding talent and the help of the Lich King, he was able to advance to the early stage of demigod. At the same time, he is also the second strongest in the Bone Temple. It was probably killed by those angels. The Lich King's voice was gloomy. Since this morning, I haven't been able to sense its soul anymore. It must be dead. But it doesn't matter, I already know its last location. That place must be where the heavenly town is. As soon as the words fell, the Lich King suddenly exclaimed in surprise, as if he had discovered something. The dark old mage beside him asked, "Your Majesty, did you find something?" The wizard king said, "It's strange. Its soul was clearly gone, but now it seems to have disappeared again. Wait, it seems to be gone for real." Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark quote. The dark old mage looked confused. The Lich King also seemed a bit embarrassed. After a moment of silence, he said, "This time it has completely disappeared. And the place where it disappeared is not far from where it last appeared in the morning. Don't think too much. Lead the army and kill them." "Yes, great Lich King." The dark old mage waved his staff, releasing a powerful force of dark laws, further increasing the marching speed of the undead army. The army of undead had already assembled and set out last night. After a night of marching, the army of undead was now less than 600 kilometers away from Lin Yu's heavenly town. It seemed far away, but it would only take a few hours to reach. Meanwhile, in the southern region of the dark forest, an extremely shocking scene appeared. Giant waves swept across the azure sky, engulfing the sky with clouds, becoming nourishment for the waves. Whether from a distance or up close, it looked as if a sea had lost its gravitational pull and appeared in the sky. And it was very clear to see. Amongst the surging waves, countless figures stood tall. Leading them were the Naga, with human bodies and snake tails, densely packed and innumerable. Behind them, there were also a large number of fish people wielding various weapons. The fish people belonged to a sea tribe. When the Naga tribe fled to the dark forest, they also brought a group of fish people from the sea. After many years of reproduction, both the Naga and the fish people have multiplied their numbers many times over. This is a massive army with a scale of millions. Among them, the Naga account for 30%, while the rest are all fish people. It can be seen that the fish people reproduce at a faster rate. At the forefront of the surging waves, there are also huge ships sailing, each armed to the teeth, carrying a large number of magic cannons. These are the war weapons created by the Naga kingdom. The huge ships do not have the ability to fly. However, the Naga can control the waves in the blue sky, indirectly allowing the huge ships to fly in the sky. Compared to elven flying boats and goblin airships, the Naga tribe's huge ships can be considered a unique approach. Your Majesty, on the deck of the largest warship in front of the waves, there stood a group of Naga wielding tridents. And they were all female. The Naga tribe, inheriting the bloodline of nature spirits, also lacks male beings. However, although the Naga tribe has lost the elven mother tree, they have evolved the ability to reproduce. And it is asexual reproduction, being both the father and the mother. Just like the blackfin sharks in the blue sea of the blue star. They can reproduce even without males. A powerful Naga with a strong aura said, "The mark on Daphne disappeared mysteriously for a few hours and then reappeared, and it has been staying in the same location. It is highly likely that she has been captured by the strong individuals of Heaven Town and imprisoned." "This is good news," the Naga queen said. She wore a crown, her face beautiful. Wearing exquisite battle armor, she held a trident shining with golden light. The scales on the tails of ordinary Naga are dark green. But the scales on the Naga queen's tail are dark purple, shining with a strange and dreamlike luster under the sunlight, giving a sense of nobility. Hearing the words of the Naga queen, the other Naga powerhouses on the deck also expressed their agreement. At least she is not dead. When the mark disappeared earlier, they all thought that Daphne had been killed by the angels of Heaven Town. Compared to that, being imprisoned is actually good news. After all, as long as they can capture Heaven Town, they will have a chance to rescue Daphne. Lock onto the location of the mark and accelerate forward. Yes, Your Majesty. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the high sky, the waves rolled and swept through the clouds. Soon, this army disappeared into the distant horizon. 45%. Chapter 263 Elf Queen, Fairy Dragon, and Demigod Warcraft. To the east of the Dark Forest, there is also a large army, and the lineup looks even more fantastical. At first glance, above the blue sky, in the midst of the jungle, there are dense figures of nature spirits everywhere. In addition to the nature spirits, there are also many unicorns in the sky. Each unicorn is ridden by a powerful nature spirit. There are also sightings of elf dragons and fairy dragons. The number is not very large. In total, there are only a little over 100. Elf dragons are all green, large in size, and possess the power of nature. Fairy dragons are colorful, slightly smaller in size, and overall appear to be half the size of elf dragons. Both elf dragons and fairy dragons are pure-blooded dragon race. However, they do not belong to the dragon race faction. They are affiliated with the camp of the nature spirits. Similarly, on the backs of elf dragons and fairy dragons, there are also numerous armed nature spirits, each looking heroic. In the camp in the sky, there are also sleek and exquisite airships, over 300 meters long and tens of meters wide. On both sides are various types of magic cannons. These are elf airships, famous war weapons of the nature spirit clan. They are guarded in the camp of the unicorn army and fly rapidly towards the distant horizon. In addition, in the jungle below, many large figures can also be seen, several times more than the number of unicorns in the sky. From a distance, they look like moving giant trees. Up close, it can be seen that they have hands and feet, and there are even faces on the main tree trunk. They are tree people. Tree people are the guardians of the nature spirit clan. Like the nature spirits, tree people are also created by the goddess of nature and the elf goddess. The original tree people evolved from the elf mother tree. With the passage of time, under the assimilation of the nature spirit clan, some ancient trees also began to evolve into tree people. In addition, the nature spirit clan also possesses natural magic that can forcibly transform ancient trees into tree people. However, this kind of natural magic is very profound. Generally, only nature spirits with extremely high talent can comprehend it. Overall, Elf Garden has 4 main legions, namely the Nature Spirit Legion, the Unicorn Legion, the Elf Airship Legion, and the Tree People Legion. The number of elf dragons and fairy dragons is too small. They can't even form a small legion, so they can't be considered as main forces. At this moment, in one of the elf airships, in the exquisitely decorated hall filled with clusters of flowers, dozens of beautiful figures are gathering. They are part of the high-level members of Elf Garden. The lowest among them are also saint-rank powerhouses. Sitting on the throne at the head of the hall is Elf Queen Brianna, a demigod powerhouse. In addition to her, there are 2 other demigods in the hall. One is a beautiful woman wearing a vibrant floral gown, with dazzling golden pupils. But her true form is not a nature spirit, but a fairy dragon. The other is ancient great elf Doris, who is being watched by all eyes. Your Excellency, the envoy of the gods. Elf Queen Brianna, wearing a beautifully crafted crown, smiled at Doris and said, "Your arrival is a cause for celebration for our entire elf garden. Unfortunately, we are currently in a time of war. We can only hold the grandest welcome ceremony for you after this war is over." Doris replied calmly, "The ceremony is not important. I just want to end this war as soon as possible." Elf Queen Brianna immediately said, "With the help of the divine envoy, I believe we can surely destroy the town of Heaven City in a war." Upon hearing this, Doris raised an eyebrow and glanced at Queen Brianna. The elf queen seemed confident. After thinking for a moment, Doris said, "The strength of Heaven City is not weak. Apart from the massive angel legion, they also have the famous war weapon, City of Angels. Especially after yesterday, Heaven City's army conquered the giant kingdom in just one day. It highlights the terrifying power of the Angel Legion and the City of Angels in war. Does your Majesty have a way to deal with this?" Elf Queen Brianna had no doubt and said, "With the combined forces of several factions, we have 8 demigods and nearly 1,000 saint-rank powerhouses. If we still can't conquer Heaven City with this, then I have nothing to say." 8 demigods. Doris showed a hint of surprise. "That's right." The elf queen nodded and said, "The Bone Temple and Naga Kingdom each have 2 demigod powerhouses, and our elf garden has 3 demigods." Upon hearing this, Doris scanned the hall and noticed that besides the elf queen, there was only the demigod who was the original form of a fairy dragon. Could it be that the 3rd demigod of Elf Garden was hidden in the shadows? Seeing the puzzled expression on Doris' face, Elf Queen quickly said, "Divine Envoy, our 3rd demigod is you. That does make 3. Doris finally came back to her senses. She had forgotten about herself. Perhaps because she hadn't fully immersed herself in the role she was playing. On the other hand, Elf Queen Brianna continued, "This war involves not only our 3 factions but also the Beast Clan of the Dark Forest. Compared to our intelligent races, the Beast Clan does not have a fixed territory. Their members are scattered throughout various regions of the Dark Forest. Among the Beast Clan, there is also a demigod powerhouse named Adonis, who is a fire-breathing dragon beast with dragon race bloodline and formidable strength. I contacted it last night and reached an agreement with it. It is willing to command the Beast Clan of the Dark Forest and the army of wild monsters to attack Heaven City together with us." This is good news. Ancient Great Elf Doris' exquisite and charming face lit up with a brilliant smile. She did not expect that even the Beast Clan would join the war. It meant that the entire powerful force of the Dark Forest had united. When this war ends, Heaven City will undoubtedly become immensely wealthy. Furthermore, after dealing with these powerful forces, the Dark Forest will only have some weak indigenous intelligent races left, which can be easily eradicated. In other words, her Lord of Holy Light will become the true ruler of the Dark Forest with the help of this war. At this moment, Elf Queen Brianna, sitting on the throne, also smiled when she saw the delighted, divine envoy. It seemed that good days were coming for Elf Garden. 45%. Chapter 264 Shock. Create the Law of Time. Just as the armies of the three local transcendent level forces were heading towards Paradise Town, the chat channel on the island also became lively. It was true that the scale of the armies of the three forces was extremely large and could not be concealed or avoided by the overlords and combat professionals in the Dark Forest. They directly leaked this news to the island's chat channel. From this, it can be seen that the island's chat channel still has strategic significance. War has come again. I saw a vast undead army crossing mountains and valleys, and there are also numerous undead powerhouses in the sky. It is obvious that their target is Lin Yu's Paradise Town. Our team in the east of the Dark Forest also unexpectedly discovered the army of the Elf Garden. The ground is full of tree people, and there are also many unicorns in the sky, even elf dragons and fairy dragons. I have to say, those elves are really beautiful. If I could marry one and bring her back, I would have no regrets in this life. Elves may be beautiful, but they can't compare to angels. Angels belong to Lord Lin Yu. Are you looking to die or just talking nonsense? Quote. Let's get back to business. My territory is located to the south of the Dark Forest, and I also saw a large army from the Naga Kingdom. They are riding towering waves and flying from the sky. It's so shocking. I saw it too. There are Naga, merfolk, and even huge ships passing through the sky. The scene is simply as shocking as a movie. Obviously, the Bone Temple, Elf Garden, and Naga Kingdom, these three local transcendent level forces couldn't sit still after learning that the Mountain Giant Kingdom was captured by the Angel Army. They dispatched their armies with the intention of jointly capturing Paradise Town. Lin Yu is in big trouble. Yesterday, I was guessing whether something like this would happen, but I didn't expect it to become a reality early this morning. I don't know if Lin Yu's Angel Army can withstand this wave of war. If it were any other overlord professional, it would be certain death. But Lin Yu, who knows? After all, everyone knows how strong Lin Yu's Paradise Town is. Anyway, this war is basically the final battle of the Dark Forest. If the three forces win, Lin Yu will be eliminated, and the Angel Army will become a mirage. We professionals will continue to develop in a sneaky manner. If Lin Yu wins, he will become the unique overlord of the Dark Forest. When he establishes a kingdom, we professionals in the Dark Forest will also usher in a new era. At this moment, a combat professional suddenly sent a message. What do you guys think? Which side should we stand with? Should we help Lin Yu or the three local forces? What side? Who do you think you are? Participating in such a war. When you get to the battlefield, do you think you can be cannon fodder? In reality, you don't even qualify to be cannon fodder. Quote. We don't need to help either side. We don't have the strength. Just wait for the war to end. Agreed. I hope Lord Lin Yu can win. If he loses, I won't be able to buy equipment and potions anymore. Speaking of which, the batch of potions that Lin Yu put up for sale before were really amazing. With the help of those potions, our team successfully killed a level 7 overlord boss and made a big profit. Lin Yu is actually selling potions. Damn it, why am I always the last one to know? Quote. The potions that Lin Yu put up for sale should have caused a huge uproar in the island's chat channel. After all, alchemists are even rarer than blacksmiths. At a time when the majority of overlord professionals haven't even fully equipped their blacksmiths, Lin Yu has already started selling potions, which is a very exaggerated thing. However, the potion incident was completely overshadowed by the event of the three transcendent level forces joining forces to attack Paradise Town. At this moment, almost all professionals on the island are waiting for the latest news to come. This includes the leaders of the alliances in the Great League Channel, the Apex level overlord, and numerous high-level overlords. They are all waiting for the outcome of this war. Because this war will determine their future. Whether it's a chance to become the island lord or to become Lin Yu's subordinate. It all depends on this wave. Paradise Town, Territory Square. Lin Yu looked at the drifting ashes in front of him, his face blank. Did he actually fail? He used the mysterious energy generated by the power of faith to envelop the Saint rank peak bone dragon. However, shortly after, the bone dragon turned into ashes amidst screams. Not only were the bones reduced to dust, even the soul disappeared completely. This caught him off guard. Naga Daphne, who was standing not far away. Instantly, she broke out in a cold sweat and cautiously moved closer to the side. It wasn't until eight-winged seeker Angel Elena glanced at her that she stiffened her body, afraid to make any movements. As for the usually elegant and steady Secretary N, when she saw the ashes filling the sky, her mouth twitched involuntarily. Then she quickly explained, "My lord, it must be because the strength of that bone dragon was too weak to withstand your divine power of creation. I will capture the Lich King later for you to continue your experiments. Whether you capture the Lich King or not." Lin Yu frowned and said, "I just feel that this bone dragon died too suddenly." As he spoke, he turned his gaze to the delicate and lovely Angel of Love Shirley and asked, "With your current strength, can you resurrect it?" Angel of Love not only excelled in spreading love but also in healing and resurrection magic. In the list of Angel of Love's magic, there was a spell called Light of Redemption that could resurrect the dead. However, the bone dragon was a Saint rank peak creature. Angel of Love Shirley's level was only at the Saint rank late stage. Whether she could resurrect it was uncertain. Angel of Love Shirley shook her head and said, "My lord, the bone dragon is a pure undead creature. The Light of Redemption cannot resurrect it. It would be different if it were another race." Lin Yu felt a little regretful. He wanted to experiment a few more times and accumulate experience. At this moment, Secretary N suddenly spoke up, "My lord, why not try using the power of creation to create the laws of time and reverse time?" Upon hearing this, Lin Yu's eyes lit up. He had forgotten about this option. "That's a good idea." Without hesitation, Lin Yu once again waved the super divine weapon, the Origin Scepter, in his hand. At the same time, the power of creation within him also ignited the power of faith, quickly burning. Under Lin Yu's control, he began to create the laws of time. The power of creation's most incredible ability was the ability to create things out of thin air, even things that Lin Yu had never seen before. This involved the mysteries of the cosmic avenue. However, Lin Yu was still unaware of this. He only knew that the power of creation was limitless. Soon, after burning a massive amount of power of faith, the laws of time were created by Lin Yu. He immediately used the Origin Scepter to manipulate and reverse the time in the area where the bone dragon was. In an instant, the space-time in that area twisted and shimmered with strange lights. The scattered ashes seemed to be drawn together as they quickly reassembled. Gradually, a massive bone dragon shadow appeared. Then, under the influence of the laws of time, it quickly solidified and was successfully resurrected. Seeing Lin Yu and Angelia, the bone dragon knelt down without any dignity, begging in extreme fear, "I beg you not to kill me. I will be very obedient." Lin Yu said, "You've already said that before." Bone Dragon. 1. 45%. Chapter 265. Please stop. No. The bone dragon longs for more. Lin Yu once again swung the divine weapon Origin Scepter in his hand. Using the power of creation to ignite the power of faith, he enveloped the bone dragon within it. The bone dragon was imprisoned in place by the powerful laws of the Secretary, and its power was completely sealed, unable to resist. It could only watch as its body underwent strange changes. It could clearly feel that the necromantic power within it was being transformed towards the direction of holiness and light. Even its body and soul were forcibly transformed. The difference was that its body and soul seemed somewhat fragile and unable to withstand that power. They were dissipating as the transformation continued. After about 5 seconds, the bone dragon disappeared once again, turning into a sea of gray mist. The square in the territory was filled with its terrified and desperate howls. Failed again. But unlike the first failure, a smile appeared on Lin Yu's face after this failure. Because this failed experiment gave him valuable experience. Whether it was the power of creation, the power of faith, or the divine weapon Origin Scepter in his hand, he had a deeper understanding of them. Indeed, practice is the unique standard to test the truth. Only through failure can one open the door to success. Lin Yu was in a good mood and swung the Origin Scepter again, burning the power of faith to create the laws of time. Soon, the flow of time in the area where the bone dragon disappeared was reversed once again by him. In this process, Lin Yu also gained more insights into the mysteries of the laws of time. Lin Yu had a feeling. He would soon be able to master the laws of time. At that time, he wouldn't need to use the power of creation and burn the power of faith. He could directly reverse time and possess more powerful abilities related to the laws of time. This seemed incredibly unbelievable, but it wasn't strange at all. Other creatures who wanted to comprehend the laws could only slowly sense the power of the laws through years of closed-door cultivation, and whether they could sense the laws of the world was still a question. Some demigods spent their entire lives trying to comprehend new laws without success. On the other hand, Lin Yu directly created and utilized the laws. In these two processes, all the mysteries of the laws were clearly displayed before him. Just like studying from a book. The speed of comprehension and mastery was naturally many times faster than others. After a moment, the bone dragon resurrected once again. Just like before, it knelt on the ground, begging Lin Yu and Angelia in extreme terror. For it, as the protagonist, it didn't know that it had died and come back to life twice. Its memories and all other traces remained at the moment it first saw Lin Yu and knelt down to beg for mercy. This is time reversal. Here, Lin Yu swung the divine weapon Origin Scepter once again. This time, he was even more careful and cautious, and his experience was richer. Under Lin Yu's meticulous control, the bone-white skeletal dragon body of the bone dragon gradually began to emit a faint white light, the light of holiness. At the same time, the soul of the bone dragon and the necromantic power within its body underwent a tremendous transformation. The necromantic power in its soul was rapidly disappearing, but it didn't turn into nothingness. Instead, it transformed into divine power. The necromantic power within it is also being transformed into divine and radiant power. The bone dragon, sensing the changes in its own body, immediately opened its mouth wide and struggled to close it. If it were a flesh and blood dragon, then right now, its eyes would surely widen with an expression of disbelief. Oh my God, an undead creature like it is actually embarking on the path of divinity and light. What kind of virtue and ability does it possess? Oh no, this is freaking unbelievable. How could something like this happen? Most importantly, once the transformation is successful, it will no longer be an evil and dark creature. It will be an undead embracing divinity and light. If it meets the Lich King in this state, the Lich King will surely smash it into bone fragments. In the eyes of other races and beings, it is still an undead. In the eyes of the undead, it is an anomaly. Isn't it going to get beaten up everywhere? Please stop. No. The bone dragon shouted in horror at Lin Yu. I don't want to become a creature of light, I am an evil undead. The supreme underworld is my home. I want to become the god of death, I don't want to embrace the light. Enough. Lin Yu slapped it. This slap directly hit its soul, knocking the bone dragon unconscious. Then, Lin Yu continued his transformation plan. Time passed quickly. The armies of the three forces continued to approach Heavenly Town, from the north, south, and east. In addition, the Warcraft tribe also made a big move. Under the command of the creature called Fire-Breathing Dragon Beast, by Elf Queen Brianna, the creatures in the Dark Forest also gathered towards Heavenly Town. Their numbers were not very large. In total, there were only nearly 10,000. But it should be noted that the lowest level of these creatures was transcendent. In other words, there were nearly 10,000 transcendent creatures, as well as powerful beings at the saint rank level. Their formidable war power was comparable to, or even surpassed, any local transcendent level force in the Dark Forest. If it weren't for the fact that the territories of these creatures were too scattered. And their fire-breathing ancestor didn't care about anything and only knew how to sleep, the transcendent level forces in the Dark Forest would not be 4, but 5. In addition to the Warcraft, there were also wild monster groups, driven by them like a vast ocean. That terrifying scene was many times more frightening than the previous beast tide. Obviously, after learning that Mountain Giant Kingdom had been captured by the Angel Army, the fire-breathing dragon beast couldn't sleep anymore. Not only did it agree to Elf Queen Brianna's invitation and personally come out, it also mobilized the Warcraft and wild monsters to fully cooperate with the armies of the three forces, preparing to capture Heavenly Town in one fell swoop and eliminate the threat of the angels. For the native creatures of this world, the arrival of the angels was no different from the invasion of the demon race. If they didn't make a full effort to suppress it, this world would inevitably be suppressed by the belief banners of the angel army. All intelligent creatures would become servants of the divine and light faith. Just as the war was about to begin, Lin Yu's transformation plan was finally completed. The bone dragon that appeared in front of him at this moment no longer had the aura of an undead. Its body was as pure as jade. Its bones seemed to be made of white jade, emitting a divine light. The magical fluctuations emanating from its body were also of the divine and light attribute, devoid of any coldness and evil. Although it was a skeletal undead, it gave off a very holy feeling. The conflict and contradiction within it were extremely intense. 46%. Chapter 266 The Dragon of the Temple, a New Species. Praise you, great Lord of Holy Light. Your servant, Ost, greets you, the highest of all. May the holy light be with us always, may the Lord be eternal. Bone Dragon Ost knelt before Lin Yu with utmost reverence. Under the shining sunlight, its pure white skeletal structure emitted a faint golden glow, appearing more exquisite than before. Moreover, it was purer than the native believers in the territory. Because it was created by Lin Yu. Without Lin Yu, it wouldn't exist as it does now. From the moment it was created, its soul, body, faith, and everything belonged to Lin Yu. Lin Yu was its creator. And it, in turn, considered itself a servant, revering and remaining loyal to Lin Yu. At this moment, Lin Yu had his eyes slightly closed. He paid no attention to the kneeling bone dragon Ost before him. He was contemplating the profound feeling of success in creation. The essence of creation contained within it made him deeply immersed. He didn't know how much time had passed. Finally, Lin Yu finished his contemplation and opened his eyes. A brilliant smile appeared on his face. The rewards from this transformation of the bone dragon were immense. It deepened his understanding of the power of creation, the power of faith, and the laws of time. Additionally, he touched upon the mysteries of divine and light powers. When he was at the saint rank level, he already possessed a domain world of divine and light attributes, combined with the amplification of the supreme grade divine weapon, the holy armor. This allowed him to have a deeper understanding of the laws of divine and light. Just the consumption of faith power is a bit high. This transformation of Bone Dragon Ost resulted in the direct consumption of 1% of his faith power. 1% may not seem like much. But one must understand that he carried within him the immense faith power of the giant kingdom towards the Titan true God, which was a tremendous amount. The consumption of 1% was quite astonishing. However, this was also related to Bone Dragon Ost being a peak saint rank creature. The stronger the creature being transformed, the greater the consumption. Furthermore, this was Lin Yu's first time doing such a thing, and he was not proficient enough to have complete control, resulting in many meaningless losses of faith power. Lin Yu believed that the next time he transformed a creature of the same level, the consumption of faith power would be much less. And if he were to transform ordinary undead creatures, it would be even simpler. If I transform a few more times, I might be able to master the laws of divine and light. If I reverse time a few more times, it's also possible to comprehend the laws of time. Lin Yu was very happy and extremely satisfied with this transformation. Then, he turned his gaze to the Bone Dragon Ost, who was prostrated on the ground, and checked its information panel. Bone Dragon Ost. Level. Demigod Initial. Alignment. Divine and Light. Growth Potential Limit. Mid-tier God Peak. Introduction. This is an undead creature that has been transformed by the power of creation. While being converted into a divine and light creature, it has obtained extraordinary growth potential. Its future is boundless. Looking at the information of Bone Dragon Ost. A look of astonishment couldn't help but appear on Lin Yu's face. After this transformation, the level of Bone Dragon Ost had directly surpassed the peak of the saint rank and became a demigod with the power of laws. This was something he hadn't expected. What surprised him even more was the growth potential of Bone Dragon Ost has unexpectedly skyrocketed to the level of a mid-rank god. It can now rival the eight-winged angel. In simpler terms, it's like a carp leaping over the dragon gate and soaring into the sky. For Bone Dragon Ost, this can be considered a heaven-defying transformation. I never expected. The effect of the power of creation is so astonishing. Under the influence of the power of creation, a bone dragon that originally only had the potential of a demigod now possesses the potential of a mid-ranked god. It can be said that it has undergone a complete transformation. This terrifying improvement makes Lin Yu even want to use the power of creation to transform himself. Rise. Lin Yu raised his hand. After Bone Dragon Ost cautiously stood up, Lin Yu said again, "From now on, you are no longer a bone dragon of the undead clan. I bestow upon you a new title, Dragon of the Holy Sanctuary. Praise you, great Lord of Holy Light." Dragon of the Holy Sanctuary Ost immediately bowed excitedly. And at this moment, a message from the myriad worlds floating island suddenly appeared in Lin Yu's mind. Congratulations, Lin Yu, Overlord. In recognition of your creation of a new creature, you will be rewarded with 100,000 gold coins, 10,000 glory points, and 100,000 reputation points. Your glorious deeds will resound throughout the island. There are rewards too. Lin Yu was somewhat surprised. Compared to the great achievement of creating a new creature, the rewards given by the myriad worlds floating island were not actually much, but it was still better than nothing. Lin Yu habitually maintained a positive mindset, not begrudging the rules of the floating island. At the same time, the relevant world announcement also appeared in the island's chat channel, shocking countless battle professionals and overlords. Damn, creating a new creature. Has Lin Yu reached such a level of awesomeness? I'm curious, what new creature did Lin Yu create? Could it be that he had a half-human, half-angel offspring with his angel? The brother above has a unique perspective, but it's basically impossible. Even if they were to have offspring, it wouldn't be so fast. We humans also need to carry a child for 10 months. Your analysis makes sense, but just thinking about a half-human, half-angel offspring, I can't help but envy and be jealous of Lin Yu again. Brothers, I just asked the floating island, they didn't tell me what creature Lin Yu created. Holy Sanctuary. Is it from Heroes of Might and Magic? Damn it, this is the floating island, not Heroes of Might and Magic. I don't know why, but I suddenly have a feeling that the creature of the Holy Sanctuary that Lin Yu created is related to the Holy Light Undead mentioned before. You mean, Lin Yu has mastered the method of transforming undead creatures into Holy Light Undead? Damn, if that's true, then undead overlords like me and dark overlords will have hope. I must join Lin Yu and have him transform all my undead units into Holy Light Undead. I want to become a member of the Holy Sanctuary. Count me in. Grand Alliance Channel. An apex level overlord suddenly spoke up, cheering and rejoicing. Brothers, from this moment on, my Death Knight Legion welcomes a glorious future. Praise Lord Lin Yu. I remember you weren't like this before. You used to angrily criticize us bright overlords as Lin Yu's lackeys. Times change, but I still like your rebellious appearance. 46%. Chapter 267 I Am Invincible. New Special Angel. Heavenly Town. Lin Yu glanced at his personal information. With the reward from this round of Myriad Worlds Floating Island, he now had over 60,000 glory points and nearly 600,000 reputation points. As for gold coins, he had reached around 4.5 million. This includes the gains from last night's night battle, as well as the equipment, blueprints, and potions sold today. I can summon another batch of angel legions. Immediately, Lin Yu turned to the Grand Secretary, Angelia, and said, "Prepare, I have received news that the armies of 3 transcendent level forces have approached within 400 kilometers of our territory. There are a total of 7 demigods and nearly 1,000 saint rank powerhouses. As for the number of transcendent beings, it is over 20,000. The enemy forces are strong, do not underestimate them." Understood, my lord. Angelia respectfully obeyed. Lin Yu said, "This war is related to the future fate of my heavenly town, and accidents are not allowed." Angelia confidently replied, "Rest assured, my lord. Our angel legions will suppress all invaders and become the ultimate victors of this war." Very well. Lin Yu nodded. Under Lin Yu's signal, Angelia also stepped back. 8-winged Seeker Angel Elena and Angel of Love Shirley also respectfully withdrew, taking with them Naga Daphne and the Radiant Dragon of the Holy Sanctuary, Ost. They too would participate in the battle. Especially the Dragon of the Holy Sanctuary, Ost, who had already reached the demigod realm. He was qualified to participate in the battle of peak powerhouses. 7 demigods, 2 from each of the 3 forces, and 1 as a monster. Compared to the number of demigods in my territory, there is even 1 less. As of now, Lin Yu had 8 demigods under his command. In other words, even if he didn't personally step onto the battlefield, the heavenly town would be enough to suppress those few transcendent level forces in the battle of demigods. Moreover, just Angelia alone would most likely be able to sweep the entire field. The combat power of Secretary An had already exceeded what ordinary people could comprehend. Even Lin Yu couldn't grasp the true extent of Secretary An's strength. In Lin Yu's eyes, Secretary An was like an abyss. As if she could unleash terrifying moves to suppress the enemy at any time and anywhere. And from beginning to end, Secretary An had always shown composure and stability, which gave Lin Yu great confidence. It was as if with Secretary An around, no problem was a problem. Of course, there's also me. I am now a demigod. I have mastered the laws of thunder and power. Plus, with the protection of the supreme grade divine weapon, the divine armor of radiance, I am invincible on the battlefield of demigods. Even if the enemy's 7 demigods focus their attacks on me, they won't be able to harm me in the slightest. I can participate in this war. Since arriving on the floating island, Lin Yu, as an overlord profession, had never participated in a real battle. Because he lacked combat experience, his previous level was not high enough. It was difficult to guarantee his absolute safety on the battlefield. If he encountered danger, he still had to rely on the angels to save him. But now it was different. He put on the divine armor of radiance, and his defense was invincible. Even if he stood still and allowed the enemy demigods to surround and attack him, he would be unharmed. In this situation, he felt that he could show off on the battlefield. He also hoped to learn how to fight through this war. Of course, it would be even better if I could harness the power of creation in battle to help me comprehend and master new laws. You should go too, Lin Yu said to the maid, Radiant Saintess Tiffany, who stood by his side. Things will be different once you join my territory. Before, you needed to seclude yourself and cultivate to advance your realm. But now, it's not necessary. As long as you kill powerful enemies, your level can skyrocket. You have the potential to grow into a true god. Becoming a god in the future will be effortless. Upon hearing Lin Yu's words, Radiant Saintess Tiffany was overjoyed. She immediately said, Praise be to my lord, I will strive to improve myself on the battlefield and serve you in a better state. Lin Yu nodded with a smile. After Radiant Saintess Tiffany left, Lin Yu returned directly to the Hall of the Overlord. He communicated with the myriad worlds floating island with his mind and opened the summoning black hole. For 4,500,000 gold coins, I can summon a fully equipped large-scale angel legion and 5 medium-sized angel legions. Originally, under my command, there were 6 large-scale angel legions and 5 medium-sized angel legions. With this wave of summoning, I can just gather 8 large-scale angel legions. And I can summon 2 more 10-winged angels. As Lin Yu muttered to himself, the summoning black hole revealed a dense array of starlight. There were white and dark red lights, representing angels from different factions. Soon, fully equipped angel legions flew out of the black hole. The first to fly out was the Holy Angel Legion. Then came the Fallen Angel Legion. Following that, fallen angels with high positions pulled out massive hellhounds from the black hole. In the blink of an eye, the spacious hall of the Overlord was filled with a dense crowd of angels, numbering in the tens of thousands. But this was not all. Due to the limited space in the hall, more angels retreated to the outer territory square. This time, Lin Yu summoned nearly 80,000 angels in total. With this, the total size of his angel army broke through 400,000. Praise you, great Lord of Holy Light. In the hall, all the angels bowed respectfully to Lin Yu, their golden and blood-colored eyes filled with reverence and fanaticism. Rise. Lin Yu raised his hand with a smile. He was just about to say some inspiring words. At that moment, dazzling golden light burst out from the summoning black hole. Lin Yu looked up and saw 2 beautiful figures radiating golden light flying out of the black hole. They had identical appearances and a consistent aura. Even their faces, hair color, and expressions were exactly the same. As if they were carved from the same mold. Lin Yu's eyes also lit up. Of course, it wasn't because they were twin angels. It was because their angel sets were different from all the other angels. One held a spear, and the other held a shield. Both the angelic spear and the shield, as well as the angelic armor they wore, were pure gold in color, as if they were made of gold. This appearance was similar to the goddess of war and wisdom, Athena, from Western mythology. Without a doubt, they were new special angels. And they were special angels of the 10-winged level. 46%. Chapter 268 Rare Twin Special Angels. Praise you, great Lord of Holy Light. It is our honor to be called by you. In the Hall of the Overlord, 2 special angels radiating dazzling golden light bowed respectfully to Lin Yu. Their golden eyes shimmered with fanaticism and reverence for Lin Yu. They looked so alike. Uniform golden armor, golden spears, and golden shields. Their figures and faces were identical. Behind them were 3 pairs of snow-white angel wings and 2 pairs of radiant wings of light. Visually speaking, even Lin Yu couldn't tell them apart. However, Lin Yu could distinguish between them through their connection to faith. At this moment, the personal information of the 2 special angels also appeared in Lin Yu's field of vision. 10-winged angel. Type. War. Initial level. Saint rank peak. Growth potential. Peak upper god. Combat skills. Blessing of Courage, Aurora Spear, War Melody, Twin Battle Hymns. Introduction. War angels are special angels who excel in all aspects of war. In the eyes of war angels, war is the best means to cleanse darkness and evil forces. They are never absent from the angelic forces' external battlefields. They possess powerful combat capabilities and unwavering faith. War Angel. A smile appeared on Lin Yu's face. So far, he had 4 types of special angels under his command. They were War Angel, Angel of Retribution, Angel of Love, and Artisan Angel. Each type of angel had its own area of expertise. Compared to orthodox angels, they indeed had their unique qualities. The disadvantage of special angels was their small number. Orthodox angels, on the other hand, numbered in the billions, far surpassing the special angels. Even the 4 18-winged Grand Archangels of the Divine Domain and the 3 fallen 18-winged Grand Archangels of Hell were all orthodox angels. To a large extent, special angels served the orthodox angelic race. They assisted the orthodox angels in building a harmonious and powerful divine domain. Lin Yu looked at the 2 identical war angels and asked, "Do you have names?" The 2 war angels shook their heads immediately. And they looked expectantly at the Lord of Holy Light. Clearly, they hoped to receive names from the Lord, just like those lucky angels. This would be their greatest honor. Lin Yu sighed inwardly. Having no names meant that they had just been born from the angel rebirth pool. Unlike Vivian, who controlled the divine power as a veteran 12-winged throne angel in charge of the City of Angels. And unlike Gladys and Sylvia, who had descended from higher positions. However, it didn't have much impact. Newborn angels could also be cultivated. For example, Ida and Sally had been nurtured by him from the lowest level of 2-winged angels to become 6-winged angels with high status. Lin Yu pondered for a moment. Then he said to the 2 war angels, "From now on, your names will be Ophiel and Oriel. Since they look exactly the same, they can have the same last name. This way, it will be easier to remember." Praise the Lord. War Angel Ophiel and Oriel exclaimed in unison, "Your favor will guide us to pursue the horn of war. In the name of the Holy Light, we shall judge all heretics." Lin Yu nodded slightly. "Go, lead your legions to participate in the upcoming war. I hope to see both of you shine on the battlefield. We will not disappoint our Lord." The 2 war angels respectfully withdrew. Not only did they speak in unison, but their movements were also synchronized. As if they were one person. Lin Yu looked at their perfectly curved figures and had a strange expression on his face. "I didn't expect there to be twins among the angels. Angels are born in the reincarnation pool. They are born as energy beings, sacred creatures. There is no such thing as bloodline inheritance. However, it is rare to see angels who look exactly the same. At least Lin Yu has summoned tens of thousands of angels, and this is the first time he has encountered such a situation. I should cultivate these twins well in the future. After all, they are special angels of the 10-winged level. As long as they can advance further, they will be able to step into the 12-winged level, on par with the 3rd level of the Orthodox Seraphim, Throne Angel, and Wisdom Angel. I believe that once they become 12-winged angels, their combat power will also skyrocket." Lin Yu had every reason to suspect that once Ophiel and Oriel stepped into the 12-winged level, their strength might surpass that of the war-type 12-winged Throne Angel. Considering this, it is indeed worth cultivating them well. Afterwards, Lin Yu left the Hall of the Overlord. As soon as he stepped outside, he saw an extremely shocking scene. Tens of thousands of angels gathered in the sky. Densely packed, like a sea of angels. The scale was so huge that it covered the sky. Under the command of the Grand Secretary Angelia, these tens of thousands of angels were organized into small-scale angel legions with a quantity of 500 and flew towards the 4 walls of the territory. Immediately after, more than 2 million elite troops of the territory ascended the city walls. These troops were all fully armed. Even the Dark Elves born from the Dark Elf Mother Tree were the same. They were all equipped. However, these were not the entire war strength of the City of Heaven. In addition to the troops, there were a large number of magic cannons mounted on the 4 walls of the territory, all of which were at the high level and capable of killing transcendent professionals. Just the Magic Cannon Legion alone was enough to give the invaders a painful blow. There was also the famous City of Angels. And it was not just one. At this moment, 2 pure white City of Angels were floating above the territory. They were all covered by distorted space. Originally, 3 City of Angels were built by the Artisan Angels and were expected to be completed by tonight. However, due to the arrival of war, The artisan angels led by Coral voluntarily stopped the construction of the other two City of Angels and focused on inscribing angelic runes on one City of Angels. With great effort, it was finally completed half an hour ago. Thus, Lin Yu's City of Heaven now had two City of Angels that could enter the battlefield. The participation of the second City of Angels in the battle would be a deadly blow to the three local transcendent level forces. Even if the demon race joined in, they wouldn't be able to make much of a difference. 46%. Chapter 269. Good things happen one after another. Great Lord of Holy Light. Just as Lin Yu was preparing to go to the city wall for inspection, a beautiful figure suddenly appeared in front of him. This figure was wearing a dark purple long dress, with delicate and beautiful features, and a well-proportioned figure, a flawless beauty. However, the overall appearance of the body seemed somewhat illusory. Similar to the consciousness projection of the 12-winged throne angel, Vivian. Who are you? Lin Yu looked puzzled. He didn't remember having such a follower under his command. The figure quickly said, "To my lord, I am the spirit of the dark elf mother tree." Lin Yu suddenly realized. Angelia had told him before. When the Angel Legion captured the Dark Elf tribe, she saw the spirit of the Dark Elf Mother Tree. At that time, the spirit of the Mother Tree had the combat power of the Saint rank. Of course, this was under the condition of transforming into the Eternal Tree Guardian. Later, the Dark Elf tribe was destroyed. The Dark Elf Mother Tree transformed into a unit blueprint. Since then, the spirit of the Mother Tree has never manifested again. Lin Yu had also tried to establish a connection with the spirit of the Mother Tree using his spiritual consciousness, but the response he received was intermittent and sometimes couldn't be reached. He always thought it was because of the mutation that the spirit of the Mother Tree had a problem. It was even possible that it would never manifest again. But he didn't expect she suddenly appeared this time. It really surprised Lin Yu. Have you just returned to your original state? Yes, my lord, the spirit of the Mother Tree explained. When I transformed into a unit blueprint, my consciousness was also greatly affected and was in a half-ignorant, half-sleeping state. Until yesterday, you raised my essence to level 10, and my consciousness also recovered. At this point, the spirit of the Mother Tree showed an extremely excited expression, and compared to before, I have become even stronger now, already possessing the power of a demigod. If I transform into the Eternal Tree Guardian, my combat power will be comparable to the peak demigod. This is something to be happy about. Lin Yu nodded with a smile. He couldn't help but be happy when he suddenly gained a peak demigod under his command. The only regret was that this peak demigod couldn't be used unless absolutely necessary. Because once the Dark Elf Mother Tree transformed into the Eternal Tree Guardian, it could never change back and could no longer give birth to Dark Elves, which was a significant loss. Lin Yu said, "Do you also want to participate in this war?" "Yes, my lord." The spirit of the Mother Tree nodded and respectfully said, "Even if I don't use my essence, I still have the combat power of an ordinary demigod. Now, with a strong enemy approaching, as your servant, I have an obligation to protect your territory. So, I humbly request that you give me a chance to participate in the battle." Lin Yu thought for a moment and said, "It's good that you have this determination. I allow you to participate in this war, but remember not to put yourself in a dangerous situation, so as not to affect the Mother Tree." "Praise the Lord, I will be careful." The spirit of the Mother Tree immediately assured Lin Yu that she would be cautious. If she received a danger signal, she would choose to return to her essence as soon as possible. As long as it wasn't too far away, returning to her essence was just a thought away. Another point, since her essence went through a series of events such as death, transformation into a blueprint, resurrection, and upgrade, the causal relationship between her and her essence was not deep. Even if she perished on the battlefield, it would not affect the Mother Tree's ability to give birth to dark elves. This change was actually good news for her, because the involved cause and effect are minimal. In the future, she will detach from her original form and gain freedom, becoming even simpler. She doesn't want to spend her whole life as a Mother Tree that only gives birth to elves. Since she submitted to the Lord of Holy Light, she has had higher and greater pursuits and dreams. She wants to become a powerful true god and fight for the Lord of Holy Light in the myriad worlds. Then go. This is also the last large-scale battle in the Dark Forest, a rare opportunity. As you command, my lord. The spirit of the elf Mother Tree did not hesitate. Immediately, she turned into an aurora and disappeared on the spot. Lin Yu also took a stroll on the city wall of the territory. Not long after, Big Lolita Tang, using a teleportation array, returned to the territory from the ruins of the Giant King's capital. After devouring the bodies of hundreds of thousands of mountain giant on the battlefield, Big Lolita Tang's level directly advanced to the mid-stage of demigod. The quote, "Even the everlasting flower is like a little brother in front of me if it can let me taste the taste of a god," is not an exaggeration. Having food makes one stronger. This is Big Lolita Tang's outstanding talent. And now, the everlasting flower is already a little brother in front of Big Lolita Tang. The relationship of flower sister and vine sister may need to be reversed. Just as he was thinking about this, a message from the myriad world's floating island suddenly appeared in Lin Yu's mind. "Congratulations, Lin Yu Overlord. The demonic plant you planted, everlasting flower, has grown up, unlocking the ability to sign a master-servant contract synchronously." Congratulations. Lin Yu suddenly felt that today was a good day. A series of good things happened one after another, making him unable to help but smile. He immediately went to the spirit field. However, what he saw was not the towering everlasting flower over 20 meters tall. Instead, it was a delicate girl wearing a golden dress with golden long hair and an oval face. "Master." Seeing Lin Yu, the girl immediately screamed excitedly. In the blink of an eye, she pounced into Lin Yu's arms and kept rubbing against him like a little cat. Lin Yu was instantly dumbfounded. What's going on? Could it be that the everlasting flower has also advanced to the demigod realm? After all, just like demonic beasts, demonic plants can only transform into human form when they reach the demigod level. Just like Big Lolita Tang. You've evolved. Lin Yu remembered that the growth potential of the everlasting flower was at the peak of the saint rank. The girl vigorously nodded her head. Her waist-length hair was a dazzling golden color, like gold. The girl said, "Yesterday, when the master left the spirit field space, I suddenly seized the opportunity to evolve. With the help of Lady Angelia, I finally succeeded in bloodline evolution. This is beyond my expectations." Lin Yu rubbed the girl's head. Her soft golden hair became messy from his rubbing. But the girl was very happy, blinking her golden eyes and looking at Lin Yu. "It's not easy. Flower Sister has finally waited for this day." 46%. Chapter 270. The enemy arrives. I'll kill you later. In addition, there is Everlasting Flower. Under Lin Yu's command, there are already a total of 11 demigods. They are Secretary Angelia, 8-winged Seeker Angel Elena, 6-winged Angel Iota and Sally, Mountain Giant King Von, Radiant Saintess Tiffany, Little Lolita Tang, Everlasting Flower, Dragon of the Sanctum Oster, Spirit of the Elven Mother Tree, and Ancient Spirit Doris. 11 demigods, against the 7 demigods of the enemy forces. It can almost be said to be overwhelming. And this is without counting Lin Yu himself. If he is included, it becomes even more unsolvable. The speed of this terrifying development is even hard for me to believe. Yesterday, when attacking the giant kingdom in the mountains, he only had 2 demigods under his command. In the blink of an eye, it increased to 11. This made Lin Yu couldn't help but sigh. Once this information spreads to the island's chat channel, it will definitely shock the tens of millions of professionals. After all, this is too shocking. And if the Lich King, the Naga Queen, and the Elf Queen were to know, they would probably lead their armies and retreat from the Dark Forest. Not to mention fighting to the death. They have to find a way to escape from the Dark Forest as soon as possible. A little later, they will become a meal for Lin Yu and be eaten by him. Unfortunately, these rulers of the transcendent level forces no longer have a chance. Looking at the golden-haired girl in his arms, Lin Yu reached out and rubbed her head again, smiling and saying, "From now on, your name is Bauer." Everlasting Flower Bauer nodded vigorously. She liked this name. In front of her master, she is Bauer. In front of that vine, she is Flower Sister. After a while, the familiar 9-star array appeared again. With the alternation of light and the completion of the contract, Everlasting Flower Bauer became Lin Yu's second magical plant that can be stored inside his body. Let's go. Lin Yu held the girl's hand and left the spirit field space. After returning to his territory, as expected, Everlasting Flower Bauer met Little Lolita Tang. But there was no friction or sparks as imagined. The two of them were like long-lost good sisters, hugging each other and laughing happily when they met. But when Lin Yu left, the world instantly became quiet. A little girl and a young girl stared at each other with unfriendly eyes. "Sister Vine, long time no see. Sister Flower, you're as fat as I imagined." Quote question mark question mark question mark question mark quote. Everlasting flower bower instantly became dumbfounded. Where did this vine see that she was fat? Isn't she clearly plump? Dot. Time quickly passed. In the blink of an eye, it was already 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Lin Yu took a nice nap with Angel of Love Shirley in his arms, and then news came that the enemy forces had finally arrived near his territory. The armies of 3 local transcendent level forces almost arrived simultaneously, one after another. In the north, there was the undead army of the Bone Temple. In the east, there was the elven camp army of the Elf Garden. In the south, there was the aquatic army of the Naga Kingdom. As for the west, there was no enemy legion. Because the west was once the territory of the Giant Kingdom, which has now been conquered by Lin Yu and belongs to his territory. In this area, the local Foss's strongholds have not been completely eradicated, but those local creatures do not have the courage to attack Paradise Town. Soon, Lin Yu arrived at the city wall of one of the City of Angels. 2 figures appeared behind him at the same time. One was the elegant secretary and the other was the ruler of the City of Angels, 12-winged throne angel Vivian. My lord, 12-winged throne angel Vivian respectfully said, the enemy's army has arrived. Shall we immediately launch an attack from the City of Angels to crush them? No rush. Lin Yu waved his hand and said, our objective is not to crush the enemy army, but to wipe them out completely, laying the groundwork for the subsequent occupation of the entire Dark Forest. If we let them escape, it will only affect our next battle plan. After thinking for a moment, Lin Yu said to Angelia, tell the demigod powerhouses in the territory to conceal their presence and not scare away the enemy. Yes, my lord. Angelia immediately conveyed Lord of Holy Light's command. The demigods needed to hide. The saint-rank powerhouses, on the other hand, did not need to. Because, relatively speaking, there were more saint-rank powerhouses from the 4 forces. In the situation of outnumbering the enemy, they had no reason to flee without fighting. Lin Yu continued, after the enemy forces have fully entered the battlefield, we will launch a full-scale attack. Let those Dominion angels remember to release the Divine Art Warlock's shackles and seal the battlefield as soon as possible. Understood. Angelia nodded. 12-winged throne angel Vivian beside her was a bit impatient. The divine domain had not seen war for millions of years. For these holy angels, at most, they would go to hell and play with fallen angels and those hellish monsters. And not every holy angel had the opportunity to do so. Just like Vivian, she hadn't known the taste of war for thousands of years. As a war-type 12-winged throne angel, she had long been itching for it. During the previous attack on Mountain Giant King's capital, she didn't have a good time because Secretary and was worried that she would kill all the mountain giants in the capital, which would affect Lord of Holy Light's recruitment of believers. This time, she needed to vent properly. Although she wouldn't personally set foot on the battlefield, bombarding the enemy legion would barely satisfy her little desire. In the distance, the armies of 3 transcendent level forces were all stationed about 50 kilometers away from Paradise Town. They did not approach any further, because they were afraid of being bombarded by the magical cannons of Paradise Town. And the main force of the magic beast race had not yet arrived. They needed to wait a little longer. In the sky, more than 10,000 figures had gathered. The lowest level among these figures was transcendent, and there were hundreds of saint-rank powerhouses. In addition to them, the demigods of the 3 forces were also present. Ancient Great Elf, sitting on the bone throne. The Lich King, shrouded in black mist, couldn't help but exclaim uncontrollably when he saw Ancient Great Elf Doris from the Elven camp. The black-robed old mage beside it, as well as the Naga Queen and others on the other side, also showed extremely surprised expressions. Ancient Great Elf, that was a legendary existence. Even rarer than elemental elves. At least there were elemental elves in this world, and there was more than one. But Ancient Great Elf had never appeared in this world. Looking at the dazzling wings of Laws behind Doris, the soul of the Lich King trembled. It had studied all the races in this world, but it had never studied or even come into contact with Ancient Great Elf. For a moment, it was somewhat ecstatic. Doris also sensed the excited gaze from the Lich King. The corners of her enchanting and slender eyes narrowed slightly. She whispered to herself, I'll kill you later. 46%. Chapter 271. Take a breath of air. On the other side, the Naga Queen, holding the golden trident, frowned imperceptibly. An ancient great elf of the demigod level appeared in the elf garden, which was not good news for the Naga kingdom. Like the elemental elf, the ancient great elf was favored by the laws of heaven and earth. compared to the relatively singular elemental elf. The ancient great elf could comprehend multiple laws. In the future, igniting the divine fire and becoming a peak demigod would be effortless. Having a peak demigod reigning over the elf garden would put immense pressure on the Naga kingdom. Although the ancestors of the Naga were also elves, this did not make them gain favor from the natural elves. On the contrary, the natural elves, just like the dark elves who opposed the underground world, regarded the Naga as evil witches of the evil camp. Their existence tainted the pure bloodline of the natural elves. In the dark forest, the Naga kingdom and the elf garden were in a hostile relationship. The ally of the Naga kingdom was the Bone Temple, ruled by the Lich King. Initially, the Naga queen was happy upon hearing the news of the destruction of the mountain giant kingdom. Because without the help of the mountain giants, the elf garden would be unable to make a sound in the dark forest. They no longer needed to fear the elf garden. But in the blink of an eye, an ancient great elf suddenly appeared in the elf garden. This made the Naga queen feel a bit frustrated. It seemed that their plan to suppress the elf garden could not be realized. Similar thoughts flashed through the Naga queen's mind. But she didn't dwell on them. Because now, she and the elf queen had a common enemy, the heavenly town located dozens of kilometers away. At this moment, the Lich King also shifted his gaze. He no longer showed excessive desire for the ancient great elf. If they didn't destroy the heavenly town and annihilate the angel legion there, not to mention researching the wings of the ancient great elf's laws, they might not even be able to save their own lives. At this time, the three rulers all turned their gaze to the distant heavenly town. As powerful beings at the demigod level, they could clearly see the scene in the heavenly town. For a moment, all three of them took a deep breath. No wonder the mountain giant kingdom couldn't withstand the onslaught of the angel army. The Lich King's voice was low as he said, "Inside the heavenly town, there are actually hundreds of thousands of angels. And contrary to the legends, there are not only holy angels, but also evil angels emanating the aura of the underworld. Even the gods on the myriad worlds battlefield did not know about the fallen angels. Let alone the inhabitants of the small floating island world. The Lich King could only define those fallen angels in the heavenly town as evil angels, based on the aura emanating from them. Hundreds of thousands of angels. Among them are high-ranking 6-winged angels, 8-winged angels, and even 10-winged angels. It was indeed easy to conquer the mountain giant kingdom. The Naga queen also had a serious expression as she said, "As the legends say, the angel race possesses terrifying divine arts. They not only destroyed the giant kingdom but also forcibly converted those mountain giants into slaves of faith. In the heavenly town, one can see nearly 1,000,000 mountain giants. They used to be citizens of the giant kingdom. Now, they have all become followers of the Lord of Holy Light." Elf Queen Brianna also said with a heavy tone, "If we don't destroy the angel army and annihilate this territory, we, and even the other intelligent races in this world, will suffer the same fate. We must win this war. Otherwise, our world will face doomsday." As she spoke, Elf Queen Brianna's gaze turned to the towering dark elf mother tree, hundreds of meters high, standing in the center of the heavenly town. She also saw the dark elf legion in the territory. Her first reaction was disgust. But soon, Elf Queen's expression became complicated. Compared to the Nagas, the natural elves despised and rejected the dark elves who had joined the evil and dark camp, but at the same time, they felt sympathy and pity for the dark elves' plight. It could be said that they both loved and hated them. "When the fire dragon beast arrives with the beast legion, we will launch an attack on the heavenly town." Also, Elf Queen Brianna reminded the Lich King and the Naga Queen, saying, "Do not touch the dark elf mother tree in the territory, it belongs to our elven race." The Lich King looked over and said discontentedly, "What does the dark elf mother tree have to do with your natural elven race?" They were already thinking about dividing the spoils before the war even started. Moreover, such a tall dark elf mother tree, it also wanted to study it. It had to be said. The Lich King was very persistent and obsessed with pursuing the truth and essence of things. If it were on the blue star, it would definitely make a big fuss. Elf Queen Brianna said, "The dark elves are of the same origin as our natural elves. Since they have appeared on the surface, they naturally belong to our elven race to deal with. I will bring this dark elf mother tree to the sacred land of elves and ask Her Majesty the Queen to remove the evil and dark power within it. Your Majesty the Queen doesn't need to bother." Ancient Great Elf Doris said indifferently, "I can handle this kind of thing." Elf Queen Brianna immediately smiled and said, "Then I will trouble the Great Elf." Doris nodded nonchalantly. Elf Queen Brianna did not feel displeased at this scene. It was normal for an ancient great elf to be a bit arrogant. Even when entering the Far East sacred land of elves, the ancient great elf would be treated as an honored guest, and the elven queen would respectfully address them as divine envoy. Just at this moment, the Naga queen suddenly exclaimed, "Queen Brianna, didn't you say there is a city of throne angels in the heavenly town? Why haven't we seen it?" Upon hearing this, the Lich King also quickly searched around. They had forgotten such an important piece of information. However, after a careful search, they did not see the legendary city of angels. They did not know that just tens of kilometers away in the sky, there were two enormous city of angels, and Lin Yu was standing on the city wall of one of them, overlooking them. This was because the space around the city of angels had been forcibly distorted by the Grand Secretary Angelia. Even a demigod would not be able to detect it. 47%. Chapter 272. Those angels are digging into the underworld. I'm not sure. Elf Queen Brianna shook her head. She also didn't find any trace of the city of angels. However, she said seriously, this is the last message given to me by King Von before the giant kingdom was attacked. It can't be false. The city of angels must exist, perhaps hidden somewhere at this moment. Mentioning the giant king of the mountain range, Von. Elf Queen Brianna felt very regretful. The destruction of the giant kingdom of the mountain range and the uncertain fate of King Von made her sad. For her, King Von was a great collaborator. Since forming an alliance with King Von and gaining the support of the giant clan of the mountain range, the Elf Garden was no longer afraid of threats from the Bone Temple and the Naga Kingdom. The peace of the Dark Forest had lasted for hundreds of years. Now, the fate of King Von is unknown. And the giant kingdom of the mountain range has been destroyed. Countless giant clan members have been captured by the Angel clan and become followers of the Holy Light. This means that the balance of the Dark Forest has been disrupted. Even if they can win the war, destroy Paradise Town, and eliminate the threat from the Angel clan, the Dark Forest will enter a turbulent period. There is no guarantee that the Bone Temple and the Naga Kingdom will not take this opportunity to invade her elf garden. For Elf Queen, this is a very distressing matter. We need to be careful. The Naga Queen said, the City of Angels is a weapon of war for the Angel clan, renowned throughout the myriad worlds. It has swept through countless worlds. Even if our army is larger in scale, we cannot be careless. That's right. The Lich King also nodded. Among the three rulers, it is the most wary of the Angel clan. Afraid of falling into the hands of those angels and being purified directly. Just at this moment, the nearby black-robed archmage seemed to have discovered something. He uncontrollably exclaimed. Then he said urgently, Your Majesty, look over there, isn't that bone dragon Oster? It's still alive, and it seems to have undergone a shocking transformation. Oster. The Lich King followed the direction pointed by the black-robed archmage and looked over. The Naga Queen and Elf Queen Brianna were also very curious. Soon, the scene that appeared in their field of vision once again froze their expressions. Both queens widened their eyes. A look of disbelief on their faces. They saw, standing on the eastern wall of Paradise Town, a bone dragon over 100 meters long, with a body wider than the town's walls. Its two front claws gripped the edge of the wall. Its tail swung back and forth behind the wall, like a cheerful pet. Of course, that's not the point. The point is that this bone dragon's body is completely different from other bone dragons. The skeletons of other bone dragons are all grayish-white, exuding a sense of coldness and death. In contrast, the body of the bone dragon Oster, every bone is as white as jade, flawless, and even emits a holy radiance. The current bone dragon Oster gives people the feeling that it is not an undead creature at all, but rather has a sense of holiness. Oh my God! The Lich King exclaimed. Those angels actually transformed Oster, who is an undead creature, into a creature of the light camp. It's simply unbelievable. They have such audacity. The black-robed elder said, transforming undead into beings of light is going against the Grim Reaper and encroaching on the realm of the underworld. Although now, this encroachment is very small. It does not cause any harm to the entire underworld. But once a large number of light undead appear, the impact will be significant. After all, the resting place of the deceased is the underworld. If there are no more deceased, won't the underworld be empty? If they lose their jobs, what will those Grim Reapers do? Go shopping and buy handbags. The black-robed elder has every reason to believe. If the Grim Reapers of the underworld discover what these angels are doing, they will surely fight them to the death. If he were a Grim Reaper, he couldn't help himself. The Lich King took a deep breath and said, I just want to know how those angels are doing it. According to common sense, such a thing is simply impossible. Even the eternal gods do not have such ability. The black-robed elder couldn't answer the Lich King's question. After all, if he knew, he wouldn't be just a mere demigod. Angels, as a mythical race, once swept through myriad worlds and oppressed the heavens. It's not surprising that they have such means. Your Majesty, if you want to know what methods the angels are using, you can capture a few angels later and ask them, right? I would like that, the Lich King muttered to himself. It had always wanted to study the angels as a race. But the question is, does it have the opportunity? For some reason, it suddenly lost confidence in this war. It seemed to be awed by the astonishing methods of the angel race. Holy light undead. The corners of Elf Queen Brianna's mouth twitched slightly. The impact on her was not as great as it was on the Lich King, but she still felt a sense of disbelief, as if her cognitive perception had been strongly shaken. At this moment, she turned to ancient great elf Doris beside her. It seems that the Lord Envoy is not surprised. She saw that Doris's expression was very calm. Doris said indifferently, even the angel race has descended to this world. What does a mere holy light undead matter? After all, it's not like the dark goddess has been transformed. Hearing this, Elf Queen Brianna suddenly felt that it made sense. She thought to herself that it was no wonder ancient great elf had such a stable mindset compared to ordinary people. Little did she know, Doris's mindset was not stable, but in her heart, the great Lord of Holy Light was omnipotent, and there was no need to be surprised by any incredible things. Fanatical worship was enough. Half an hour later, countless dense black shadows appeared on the distant horizon. Leading them was a magic beast of enormous size, reaching the demigod realm. Behind it were nearly 10,000 saint rank and transcendent magic beasts. In the rear, there were countless wild flying monsters. And on the ground, the mountains and jungles had already turned into a sea of wild monsters. Wherever they passed, the mountains trembled. Countless ancient trees were knocked down, just like an earthquake. The scene was even more shocking than the beast tide of the previous 2 days. Udenis and its army of magic beasts have arrived. Elf Queen Brianna immediately said, "There's no time to waste, launch an attack on Paradise Town immediately. Focus on attacking the city walls of Paradise Town. Only by destroying them can our army enter." 47%. Chapter 273 The War Begins. Lich King and the Naga Queen nodded. They both knew that the territory of the Overlord from another world was protected by the supreme rules. Attacking Small Town was not allowed. After Small Town, the city walls needed to be destroyed in order to enter. Before the city walls were destroyed, even powerful demigods like them couldn't enter the territory of the Overlord from another world. This was the rule. On the other hand, their own local strongholds were different. Even if the city walls were not destroyed, the army of the Overlord from another world could cross the walls and attack the stronghold directly. This seemed somewhat unfair, but it was a means of balance. Only because their local power was the ruler of this world. The Overlord from another world had not been in this world for long, and if there were no similar protections, they would have been wiped out by the local power long ago. If there was anyone to blame, it would be the rapid development of Paradise Town. It forced them, the few transcendent level powers, to join forces and wage war. Lich King said, "We can't fight against the army of Paradise Town outside, that will only make them stronger. The troops of the Overlord from another world can level up by killing enemies. The longer the battle lasts, the more likely they are to advance to higher realms. It's even more disadvantageous for us." Exactly. The Naga Queen also agreed. Then she sighed and said, "The supreme rules are too favorable to these overlords from another world and those combat professionals. If we had this ability, we would have become peak demigods long ago." Elf Queen Brianna was also very envious of this. She also wanted to possess this ability to quickly improve her own realm. Unfortunately, this ability did not belong to their local power. But there's no need to lament. If we didn't have this ability, those professionals might not have become influential even after 100 years. Upon hearing this, both the Naga Queen and Lich King nodded. Their local power had ruled this world for countless years. In terms of strength and heritage, they were far beyond the reach of those professionals from another world. Only with special means could the power between the two camps be quickly narrowed. But overall, their local power still held absolute advantages in terms of land, resources, and people. Paradise Town was just an exception. Or rather, it was an anomaly that should never have appeared. What are you all waiting for? Just at this moment, a thunderous roar came. Launch the attack immediately and end this war as quickly as possible, so that I can go back to sleep. The thunderous roar came closer and closer. In an instant, it arrived. It was a colossal creature covered in fiery red scales, with a lion-like head. Accompanied by its beast-like panting, one could see hot golden flames spewing from its mouth and nose, sizzling in the air. The fire-breathing dragon, truly living up to its name. In addition to the demigod-level fire-breathing dragon, there were also tens of thousands of saint-rank and transcendent-level magic beasts flying over. And in the distant sky, there was a dense gathering of flying monsters, covering the sky. Such a lineup made the three rulers involuntarily gasp. Before, they didn't think much of the strength of the magic beast race. Because the magic beasts' territories were scattered. At most, they would only see dozens of magic beasts gathering together. Now, the entire Dark Forest's magic beasts had gathered, reaching a terrifying scale of nearly 10,000. This made them truly witness the true strength of the magic beast race. If it weren't for the threat of Paradise Town in front of them, they would have wanted to unite and eliminate the fire-breathing dragon and all the magic beasts behind it, to eliminate any future troubles. After all, the local intelligent races and the magic beast race were inherently hostile. The battle of life and death between each other has become commonplace. It is often seen that powerful local forces fight against magic beasts in the mountains and forests. This time, it is because the enemy is the legendary angel race that the fire-breathing dragon and the magic beast race are forced to cooperate with them to besiege Paradise Town. If it were the invasion of the Beastmen tribe from the west, these magic beasts would never appear here, let alone join forces with them. After exchanging greetings, Elf Queen Brianna said, "The armies of our four forces should not appear in the same battlefield area to avoid friendly fire. Fortunately, Paradise Town has 4 walls, and we will each attack one side without disturbing each other. Just like the Bone Temple Legion under the Lich King. Either undead or evil. If they were on the same battlefield, whether it was the evil elemental magic they released or the necromantic and dark powers emanating from them, it would affect the elven troops belonging to the good camp. Not to mention other things, their combat power would definitely be weakened to a certain extent. I object." The Naga Queen frowned and said, "We believe that we should concentrate our forces to attack one side of the wall, so that we can destroy it as quickly as possible." Elf Queen Brianna said, "The walls of the Overlord world are different from our local walls. There is something called durability. The walls will not collapse until the durability reaches 0. Whether attacking one side of the wall or attacking all 4 sides, the effect is actually the same. You know this." The Naga Queen looked at Elf Queen with some surprise, and then said, "In that case, our Naga Kingdom will attack the southern wall. Lich King, I will attack the northern wall." Elf Queen did not hesitate and chose to attack the eastern wall of Paradise Town. The armies of the 3 forces are stationed in these 3 directions at the moment, and there is no need to change positions. Then, the 3 of them turned their gaze to the huge fire-breathing dragon. The fire-breathing dragon rolled its eyes. Its army needs to fly over from the sky to attack the western wall of Paradise Town. As for the ground army of wild monsters, they can only detour from both sides. That's fine. The fire-breathing dragon didn't hesitate either. Immediately conveyed the order to its magic beast and wild monster army. Soon, the vast army of wild monsters split into 2 and began to detour around Paradise Town. Looking down from the sky, like 2 rolling tsunamis. The scene was quite shocking. Let's start too. The 3 rulers looked at each other. Then they each retreated to their own army camp and led their troops to launch an attack on Paradise Town. Soon, the deafening sound of cannon fire rang out. It was the magical cannons on the walls of Angel Town bombarding the armies of the 4 forces. At the same time, the warships of Naga Kingdom and the flying boats of Elf Garden were also bombarding the walls of Paradise Town in an orderly manner. On the northern battlefield, the undead army of the Bone Temple deployed a large number of undead catapults. For a while, the walls of Paradise Town were constantly trembling from the bombardment. The durability value was also rapidly decreasing at a visible speed. On the other side, the fire-breathing dragon led nearly 10,000 saint-rank and transcendent-level magic beasts, soaring through the sky and transmigrating towards the western battlefield. However, it did not notice. Right above its head, 2 huge city of angels were floating. Lin Yu, Chief Secretary Angelia, and 12-winged throne angel Vivian all looked at it with indifferent eyes. It can only be said that this old beast has quite the courage. 47%. Chapter 274 Siege of Paradise Town. Boom, 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 boom. Brilliant beams of light struck the walls of Heaven City. It was an attack from the magic cannons. The Nagas, warships, and the elves, flying boats bombarded the walls. Giant meatballs fell from the sky, exploding violently upon hitting the walls. These were projectiles launched by the undead army's catapults. They appeared to be solid, but possessed terrifying explosive power. After one round of attacks, the walls of Heaven City had hardly suffered any damage, and no bricks were shattered. However, this did not mean that the walls had perfectly withstood the attack. On the contrary, the walls were severely damaged. Just this wave of attacks had caused the durability of the walls to decrease by tens of thousands of points. The walls of Heaven City were high-level walls, with a durability of 500,000 points. Much higher in defensive power compared to fences and walls. But even so, they could not withstand for long. Perhaps in a short while, the durability of 500,000 points would be reduced to zero. At that time, the walls would instantly crumble into a massive stone ruin. Furthermore, during the battle, the durability of the walls could not be repaired. After all, with the protection of the rules of the floating island world, the invaders could only kill their way into the territory of the Overlord by destroying the walls. If repairs were possible midway, these forces might not be able to break through the walls of Heaven City even after fighting until tomorrow, rendering such a war meaningless. At the same time, the armies of several forces also launched their attacks. They surrounded Heaven City like a vast ocean. In the process, terrifying forbidden spells enveloped Heaven City, causing the walls of the territory to shake violently, and the durability plummeted once again. Forbidden spells can generally only be released by saint rank level powerhouses. Different professions can release different forbidden spells. But regardless of the profession, forbidden spells have one common characteristic, which is their powerful might. To a certain extent, they are no less powerful than the attacks of opening a domain world. Bang 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 bang. The eastern wall was struck by countless large wooden spears. It was the treefolk legion loyal to Elf Garden that made their move. Each of those treefolk stood several tens of meters tall, and they could condense thick wooden spears using the natural elemental magic they mastered for long-range projection. From a distance of several thousand meters, they launched their attack on the walls of Heaven City. Although they were wooden spears, their attack power and penetration were extremely formidable. Coupled with the fact that treefolk are a giant strength race, the wooden spears they launched possessed even more astonishing power. If it were the walls of a local force, they would be pierced through on the spot. Immediately after, behind the treefolk legion, a large number of nature elves rode on unicorns and flew over. Under the control of the nature elves, those unicorns released purple lightning one after another, attacking the walls. Unicorns possess the power of thunder. The horn on their heads is the carrier of thunder power. Because of this, in the bountiful Great Lands, unicorn horns are very valuable. They can not only be used to forge supreme-grade equipment, but can also be ground into powder, used to inscribe magic scrolls, and even used for potion preparation. In coordination with the Treefolk Legion and the Unicorn Legion, there were also the Elf Dragons and Fairy Dragons. Especially the Fairy Dragons, they could be said to be elusive. They seemed to possess the power of space. They could perform short-distance teleportation on the battlefield. In the blink of an eye, they appeared hundreds of meters away. Like almost all dragons, the elf dragon and the fairy dragon can breathe dragon breath and unleash dragon language magic, and their power is quite astonishing. In a short period of time, the various legions of the elf garden were already at the city gates. And they demonstrated extremely powerful war capabilities. To the south is the battlefield of the Naga Kingdom. The Naga army and the Murloc army came riding on the waves. The sky and the ground were filled with surging waves. And there were countless figures of Naga and Murlocs. While they controlled Naga warships to bombard the walls of Paradise Town, they also attacked the walls with giant waves, creating a scene similar to a tsunami. If this were on the Blue Star, the city would have long been submerged by the tsunami. To the north, the undead of the Bone Temple directly unleashed a catastrophe of the undead. Countless undead creatures gathered like an ocean. There were countless types as well. There were weak skeleton undead, zombies, ghouls. And there were powerful abominations, headless knights, zombie overlords, and so on. In the sky, there were also countless ghosts, vampires, bone dragons, ghost dragons, and so on. Under the cover of countless undead catapults fleshball projectiles, these undead either raised their weapons or roared in anger as they surged towards Paradise Town. These scenes of war. If it were any other overlord, they would have probably been scared unconscious. Thousands of kilometers in the sky. Lin Yu stood on the city wall of a throne angel city, overlooking the battlefield, and said to Angelia, "It's about time to take action. I will follow the original plan. Also, take care of those arrogant monsters first." For Lin Yu, those monsters, including the fire-breathing dragon beast, dared to fly over Paradise Town from above. They clearly didn't regard his angel legion highly. Moreover, since they had already come under his nose, there was no reason to let them go. "Yes, my lord," Angelia immediately conveyed the Lord of Holy Light's command. Almost at the same time, the various legions of Paradise Town were mobilized. Hundreds of thousands of angels, a million-strong army of mountain giants, as well as densely packed forest trolls, dark elves, and other territorial units, all poured out of Paradise Town. At the same time, the twisted space enveloping the two throne angel cities returned to normal. In an instant, these two 8,000-kilometer-long city of angels appeared in the sight of all enemy units. At that moment, almost all enemy units were shocked, including the saint-rank beings from the four factions, and even the demigod powerhouses. Goddess of the Elves. So this is the legendary war weapon of the angel race, the City of Angels. How did they appear out of thin air? We clearly didn't see their figures just now. Damn it, Paradise Town doesn't have just one City of Angels, but two. There were many creatures on the battlefield screaming in terror. But soon, such voices disappeared, because the attacks from the City of Angels descended upon them. Under the control of the 12-winged throne angel, Vivian, the two throne angel cities indiscriminately bombarded the four battlefields below. For a while, the armies of the four factions suffered heavy casualties. Even some saint-rank powerhouses were hit and instantly disappeared from their original positions. 47%. Chapter 275. Two slaps from Secretary N. Quick, run. Get away from this area. The sudden appearance of two City of Angels startled the fire-breathing dragon. Because these two City of Angels were right above its head. The enormous shadows cast down completely enveloped it. Instantly, it felt an immense sense of fear, as if a great disaster was imminent. Since reaching the demigod realm, there hadn't been any power that could make it feel afraid. Its daily life consisted of eating and sleeping and eating. It was quite content, but now, it felt panicked. It wanted to quickly get away from these two City of Angels. Other saint rank and transcendent magic beasts felt the same way. It was because the size of the City of Angels was truly massive, spanning 8,000 kilometers, and there were two of them. Even if they didn't bombard them, just falling down could turn them into minced meat. They didn't want to die such a miserable death. Soon, led by the fire-breathing dragon, nearly 10,000 saint rank and transcendent magic beasts flew towards the western wall of Paradise Town. However, before they could fly far, the space around them was forcibly imprisoned. The fire-breathing dragon, flying at the front, crashed into an indestructible spatial barrier with a muffled bang. This demigod-level magic beast was also left a little dizzy from the impact. After shaking its head a few times, it regained its senses. It was immediately shocked and said, "Damn it. Paradise Town has a powerful individual who has mastered the laws of space, and the space in this area has been sealed. Old ancestor, what should we do now?" The magic beasts of Saint Rank and Transcendent Realm asked in fear. "What should we do? Of course, we break through it." The fire-breathing dragon roared, and a mouthful of scorching flames sprayed towards the invisible spatial barrier in front. Fire-breathing was its specialty. Within the spewed flames, it contained the power of the laws it had mastered. This kind of attack was no less powerful than the breath of a dragon of the same level. With a loud boom, the golden flames hit the spatial barrier. Instantly, they exploded into a huge flame flower, and countless sparks rebounded and fell on some unlucky magic beasts, causing them to scream in pain. However, no one paid attention to them. Other magic beasts of the Transcendent Realm immediately retreated. The magic beasts of Saint Rank, on the other hand, released their own domain powers and attacked the spatial barrier together with the fire-breathing dragon. To them, they were currently imprisoned. This was not good news. They had to escape as soon as possible. Otherwise, once the two City of Angels in the sky targeted them, they would be trapped and become live targets, unable to avoid them. But at this moment, a large number of figures actively rushed into this spatial prison. Each of them was a powerful high-rank archangel, led by the peak Saint Rank 10 winged war angel Ophiel and Oriel. Their total number was around 3,000. 3,000 high-rank archangels fighting against nearly 10,000 magic beasts. It seemed like they were at a disadvantage, but the angel race was best at fighting opponents of higher ranks. Especially the high-rank archangels. Fighting against enemies of the same level was like beating up their younger brothers. Throughout the entire universe, there were very few intelligent races that could go 50-50 with the angel race at the same realm. Good timing. I have eaten all kinds of races, but I have never tasted angels. I'll just have a taste of what you all taste like. The fire-breathing dragon roared. Immediately, it prepared to breathe flames at the incoming angels. But suddenly, a slender hand appeared out of thin air and slapped it with lightning speed, directly slapping the golden flames that were about to reach its mouth back. With a loud smack, fire-breathing dragon was knocked over and tumbled several times. Its head was buzzing from the impact. After a while, it regained consciousness and its bewildered expression was mixed with a hint of shock. It shouted in alarm, "Who hit me? Show yourself, you coward. Come out." However, the main culprit did not appear for a long time. But fire-breathing dragon did not think it was an illusion. After all, its face was still burning with pain. In the distance, the war between magic beasts and angels had already broken out. As soon as the battle began, a large number of magic beasts were instantly killed by high-ranking archangels. Especially the twins, they were invincible. Even when facing magic beasts at the saint rank level, they could easily defeat them one by one, hardly finding any opponents. Seeing more and more magic beasts being slain, fire-breathing dragon also became a little unstable. After all, these magic beasts were its subordinates. It looked around but did not find any suspicious figures. So it prepared to enter the battlefield and suppress those high-ranking archangels. Just then, a slender hand transmigrated through space again, wanting to slap it. "How dare you!" Fortunately, this lord was prepared. Fire-breathing dragon roared loudly and directly spewed a flame containing the power of the laws towards that hand. In its view, its full-force attack would surely turn this hand that ambushed it into ashes. However, the next second, that slender hand instantly dispersed its golden flame, and then slapped it on its face again. With a smack, another slap on the face. And this slap was even stronger. It almost shattered fire-breathing dragon's skull. It screamed in pain. Angry and fearful, it looked as if it had seen a ghost. "Who is it?" Fire-breathing dragon shouted in shock and anger. "If you have the guts, show yourself." It was so angry that it was burning all over, looking like a majestic and powerful fire Qilin. Also at this moment, an elegant and beautiful figure walked out of the nearby void. It was Secretary Angelia. She looked indifferently at the furious fire-breathing dragon and said, "I will give you a chance to redeem yourself. Bow your head and kneel on the ground. Our Lord is merciful and may grant you eternal life. It was you who ambushed me." Fire-breathing dragon snarled at Secretary Angelia, extremely angry. "No one can make this lord abandon its noble dignity, not even you angels. What rank are you to call yourself a lord in front of me?" Angelia's voice was cold. With a grab from her slender hand, a sword of golden flames burning appeared out of thin air. At this moment, the spatial cage suddenly trembled. There was a powerful attacker outside. Fire-breathing dragon was initially startled by Angelia's actions, but then it became excited again and roared, "The Lord's helper has arrived. Once the spatial barrier is broken, it will be your death." The ones attacking the spatial cage from the outside were Elf Queen, Queen of Naga, and Lich King, among others. Seeing fire-breathing dragon being slapped twice in a row, they knew that fire-breathing dragon was no match for Angelia. If they didn't rescue it quickly, this lord might die at the hands of Angelia. However, fire-breathing dragon didn't have much time to be happy. Because soon, figures flew out of Paradise Town. And each of them exuded a powerful demigod aura. How is this possible? Why are there so many demigods in Paradise Town? Isn't that the mountain giant king, Vaughn? Although his appearance has changed, he can still be recognized. He's not dead, and he has become a follower of the Lord of Holy Light. And that human woman, she is the Saintess Tiffany of the Holy Light Church. Damn it, the angelic race has actually reached the Bountiful Land. The ongoing war in the Bountiful Land must be related to the angelic race. Elf Queen Brianna and others exclaimed in shock. Seeing a large group of demigods rushing towards them, they suddenly felt a chill in their hearts, knowing that they had been deceived. 47%. Chapter 276 Withdraw. Escape. Elf Queen and the others originally thought that Paradise Town would have at most one or two demigods. It was even possible that there wouldn't be a single demigod. After all, this otherworldly territory had only been developing for less than half a month. To have demigods born within half a month from nothing was completely illogical. They had speculated before that the reason Paradise Town was able to conquer the giant kingdom was mainly due to the legendary war weapon, City of Angels. However, reality was like a slap, fiercely hitting them in the face. Not only did Paradise Town have demigods, but the number of demigods exceeded their imagination. On their side, including ancient great elf Doris, there were only 8 demigods. On the other hand, Paradise Town had a total of 10 demigods. And that's not even counting the human overlord standing on the walls of City of Angels with his slender figure and handsome face. Among all the demigods in Paradise Town, this human overlord was the most terrifying to them. Because from him, there emanated an incredibly terrifying pressure. This pressure had far surpassed the peak demigods, reaching the realm of a true god. Although this human overlord level was clearly only in the early stages of demigod, he possessed the pressure of a true god. This indicated one thing, that there were legendary divine weapons on him. For example, the platinum armor he wore, or the divine staff he held, crafted as if from white jade. If their spiritual perception wasn't mistaken, it meant that this human overlord had at least 2 divine weapons on him. This discovery made them break out in cold sweat. Those were the legendary divine weapons. 2 things appeared all of a sudden. And they were both in the hands of the same person. This person's combat power must have reached an inhuman level. Even if they couldn't compare to true gods, they could easily press them down and rub them on the ground. In addition, there is indeed a City of Angels in Paradise Town. But not just 1, but 2. A large group of demigods hiding their own aura, powerful overlords with at least 2 divine weapons, and 2 City of Angels with terrifying war power. All these factors combined represent a truth, which is that they have been deceived. Paradise Town has been waiting for them to exhaust themselves and deliberately showing weakness, ultimately dragging their army into the battlefield, and even surrounding a few of them. This is a conspiracy intended to capture them all. Retreat. Retreat quickly. The Naga Queen screamed first. The fire-breathing dragon was trapped inside a spatial barrier. They were now 7 against 10, already at a numerical disadvantage. Moreover, there was a terrifying overlord wearing a divine weapon overlooking them from above, which was definitely not a good sign. They must retreat to a safe zone first and then discuss countermeasures. As for the fire-breathing dragon, they were now powerless to rescue them. Let them die. After all, they were not part of their faction's demigods. Upon hearing the Naga Queen's words, the Elf Queen and the Lich King's first reaction was also to retreat. They didn't want to be surrounded by the demigods of Paradise Town. Don't leave. Save me. Inside the spatial cage. The fire-breathing dragon's previous excitement had long disappeared. Looking at the large group of figures flying out from Paradise Town, it was so scared that its scalp went numb. At the same time, it regretted not staying away. If it had known that the hidden power of Paradise Town was so terrifying, it would never have come to meddle. Now, not only did it not gain the upper hand, but it was also imprisoned and could be killed at any moment. In addition, the nearly 10,000 magic beasts under its command were also sealed in this space. They were currently fighting against 3,000 high-ranking angels. Every moment, the corpses of magic beasts fell from the sky. To put it bluntly, their magic beast race had been completely wiped out. Perhaps after this war, there would be no trace of magic beasts in the dark forest. Just thinking about this made it regret so much that it wanted to vomit blood. Come and save me. The fire-breathing dragon shouted at the Elf Queen and others outside the spatial barrier. If you don't save me, you'll die even faster. Yadunis is right. Rescue it, and our chances of fighting together will be greater. This was the voice of the Lich King. The bone thrown under it had already been collected. In the midst of speaking, a pitch-black spear appeared in its hand. This was a demigod artifact. After being nurtured for thousands of years, its power was extremely strong. Attack together. The Lich King roared. Its body turned into a black mist and integrated with the black spear. Then, in an instant, it transmigrated thousands of kilometers and stabbed the spatial barrier with the spear tip. With a loud bang, the spatial barrier remained unaffected, but the black spear was knocked away. The Lich King, who had merged with the black spear, was also instantly shaken out. The black mist enveloping it had dissipated, revealing an extremely pale face. Seeing this scene, the Elf Queen and the Naga Queen, who were hesitating whether to take action, dared not move. Because when the Lich King attacked the spatial barrier just now, they simultaneously sensed how strong the defensive power of the spatial barrier was, almost indestructible. Even if all of them demigods joined forces, it would be difficult to break it. Even if there was a chance of success, it couldn't be achieved in a short time. By then, they would definitely have been surrounded. Let's go. The elf queen no longer hesitated and prepared to escape. At this moment, she noticed a wave of blue waves sweeping across the distant horizon. The Naga queen was faster than her. This woman. The elf queen gritted her teeth in anger. Just then, she suddenly heard a scream. Turning her head, she saw that the body of the Lich King had been pierced by a jade-green dagger. And the dagger had pierced the heart of the Lich King. The Lich also belonged to the undead camp. However, unlike most undead, the core of the Lich was not the flame of the soul, but the heart. The heart was the source of the Lich's power, just like the angel heart of the angel race. The difference was that the angel heart was indestructible. But the Lich's heart was the most fragile and deadly weakness. Once the heart was destroyed, even an immortal Lich would be finished. It's you. The Lich King stiffly turned its head. With an incredulous expression, it looked at the true culprit who had betrayed it, ancient great elf Doris. 48%. Chapter 277 Backstab from Doris. You. Why? The expression of the Lich King twisted, showing anger, shock, and pain. It could sense that its heart had been pierced by a dagger, and the released power of the laws was trying to forcefully crush its heart. The Lich King instinctively mobilized its own power of the laws to protect its heart. Although it ultimately succeeded, it also suffered heavy injuries. Moreover, the intense pain made it difficult to bear. Its entire body convulsed. But most importantly, it never expected that an ally from the same camp would launch a surprise attack from behind, using the signature skill of the Dark Elf Assassin, Shadow Assassination. In complete silence, it was dealt an almost fatal backstab. Not far away, the Dark Archmage, Elf Queen Brianna, and the demigod fairy dragon who witnessed this scene were also shocked. Especially Elf Queen Brianna, she was completely stunned. As if she herself had been backstabbed. The scene before her eyes was undeniably real. My lord, Elf Queen Brianna exclaimed, why would you do this? Ancient Great Elf Doris did not respond. With a swift motion, the dagger in her hand directly cut open the Lich King's heart and abdomen. Then she disappeared in an instant, leaving only an afterimage. Almost at the same time, a black spear pierced through her afterimage. This was the Lich King's counterattack, but it didn't harm Ancient Great Elf Doris in the slightest. Her sexy and enchanting figure appeared hundreds of meters away. The dagger in her hand was dripping with black blood. What a pity, Doris lamented. The dagger in her hand was just an ordinary saint weapon. If it were a supreme grade saint weapon, or even a demigod weapon, the Lich King would undoubtedly be dead. Now, although the Lich King was heavily injured, it still survived under her assassination, which was quite disappointing to her. At this moment, she finally looked up at the horrified crowd. A very charming smile appeared on her exquisitely made-up beautiful face as she said to Elf Queen Brianna, Your Majesty, give up your unrealistic fantasies. You cannot escape. Traitor. Elf Queen Brianna took a deep breath and said, You are an ancient great elf, a divine envoy under the goddess of nature and the elven goddess. How could you betray your own mother goddess? Mother goddess. The smile on Doris' face instantly disappeared. She said coldly, Ever since the end of the Holy Demon War, the goddess of nature and the elven goddess have abandoned our dark elf clan. It was the great Lord of Holy Light who gave me the opportunity to become an ancient great elf, and it was the Lord of Holy Light who guided our tribe in the right direction. We have no mother goddess, and we don't need one. Only the Holy Light is eternal. Upon hearing these words, Elf Queen Brianna was both shocked and angry. Surprisingly, this ancient great elf is actually from the Dark Elf clan. No wonder she saw the towering Dark Elf mother tree and a large number of Dark Elves in the heavenly town. Those Dark Elves are led by this ancient great elf. Angry, this ancient great elf completely forgot about nature and the elf goddess. She, like the Dark Elves of her tribe, has become a follower of the Holy Light. This is a blatant betrayal of faith. Even among the Nature Elf clan, betraying the faith in the elf goddess is a grave sin. However, when one thinks of the true identity of this ancient great elf, the so-called betrayal of faith seems normal again. The Dark Elf clan no longer believes in nature and the elf goddess. So, it was all a conspiracy. Elf Queen Brianna sighed deeply, suddenly feeling a chill. The ancient great elf has always been a resident of the heavenly town, appearing before her only to help the heavenly town gather information about their allied forces and then strike at the opportune moment. She suddenly felt a bit fortunate. Fortunate that the one betrayed by the ancient great elf Doris was the Lich King. If it were her, she might already be dead now. Not because her strength is inferior to the Lich King's, but because the Lich King's vitality is slightly stronger. She wouldn't be able to withstand that backstabbing move. Damn it, foolish elf queen. You were so foolish to invite the wolf into your home and never even realize it. The Lich King was so angry that his chest hurt. As soon as he finished speaking, he fled into the distance with the Dark Archmage. This war is impossible to fight. They greatly underestimated the strength of the heavenly town. Now, the flame dragon beast is imprisoned within a spatial barrier, the Naga Queen fled first, and he himself is heavily injured. On the other hand, the heavenly town has 12 demigods watching closely. If he stays, this Lich King will only have a dead end. Ancient Great Elf Doris glanced sideways at the fleeing figure of the Lich King and the Dark Archmage. She didn't chase after them, because she knew these two guys couldn't escape. The same goes for the Naga Queen who escaped earlier. Sure enough, at this moment, two brilliant light gates suddenly appeared in the distant sky. Several figures flew out of each gate, all of them powerful demigods from the heavenly town. They used the Dominion Angel's Gate of Holy Light to cross the sky and directly intercept the fleeing Lich King and Naga Queen. At the same time, two figures flew towards her. They were Eight-Winged Seeker Angel Elena and the Mountain Giant King Vaughn. They were ready to cooperate with her to suppress Elf Queen Brianna and the demigod-level Fairy Dragon. 48%. Chapter 278 Elf Queen, join us. Oh, Elf Queen Brianna's face changed drastically. She knew what the final plan of the heavenly town was. It was to divide and conquer them. Originally, the 6 of them, demigods, gathered together. Even if the Lich King was severely wounded by the ancient great elf Doris' betrayal, as long as they stuck together, there was a great chance of resisting the demigod siege from the heavenly town. At worst, it was still possible to escape a portion of them. After all, in this situation, 1 + 1 was far greater than 2. But now, the Naga Queen and the Lich King escaped one after another. This directly led to them being unable to stick together. Their overall strength was severely weakened. The current situation is, whether it's her, the Lich King, or the Naga Queen, they are all facing a situation of 2 against 3, or even 2 against 4. Isn't this a disaster? Brianna, surrender. Mountain Giant King Vaughn buzzed. Before this war even begins, you are destined to fail. It is fate that brought you here, giving you the opportunity to embrace the holy light. Don't resist. Believing in the holy light is your most correct choice. Elf Queen Brianna looked at the drastically changed appearance of Mountain Giant King Vaughn and said, Your Majesty Vaughn, do you know what you're doing? You are betraying the Titan true God. The current you is no longer the same as before. You are no longer the resolute and fearless king of the mountain giants. You have even abandoned the appearance of a mountain giant. Is this the destiny you wanted? Mountain giants look like stone people, composed of countless large and small stones. But the current mountain giant King Vaughn has a bald head, with his skin appearing purplish blue, resembling an enlarged mutant human. There is no trace of the mountain giant's temperament. However, Mountain Giant King Vaughn shook his head and said, Brianna, you are still short-sighted. The reason I have become like this is because I am on the path to becoming a Thunder Titan. Isn't this a good thing? Elf Queen Brianna fell silent immediately. King Vaughn's words deeply stimulated her, and it left her speechless. She did not expect that Mountain Giant King Vaughn had already touched the Thunder Titan bloodline hidden within him, and had the potential to evolve into a Thunder Titan in the future. This was indeed a good thing. If it were her, if she had the potential to evolve into an ancient great elf, she would also choose to abandon the appearance of a nature elf. After all, the level of an ancient great elf was higher. This is the blessing of our Lord. Seeing Elf Queen Brianna's silence, Mountain Giant King Vaughn's expression became fanatical. Brianna, nature and the elven goddess have abandoned you, because this is a broken world that the gods do not care about. She cannot hear your calls. And she cannot receive the power of faith that you offer. Join us. Become a follower of the Holy Light. The great Lord of Holy Light will bring a brighter future to your elven race. Your Majesty, a beautiful woman, transformed into a fairy dragon, whispered softly. Then she silently approached Elf Queen Brianna. No matter what choice Elf Queen makes, she will accompany her until the end. Elf Queen Brianna glanced at her, then raised her bright green eyes and looked at King Vaughn, who was like a giant, saying, What if I refuse to believe in your Lord of Holy Light? King Vaughn, the mountain giant king, said in a deep voice, believe in the Lord and gain eternal life. Understood. Elf Queen Brianna took a deep breath. In other words, refusing to believe in the Lord of Holy Light is a dead end. This was not unexpected to her. The legendary angelic race is firm in dealing with heretics, to the extent that even King Von, who is a follower of the Holy Light, is deeply influenced. As they spoke, a delicate long sword appeared in Elf Queen's hand. Her profession is elven swordsman. Once she reaches the peak of demigod level, she can call herself a sword god. Elementalists are known as divine gods. However, Elf Queen is currently only at the demigod late stage, and has not yet ignited the divine fire to ascend to the peak of demigod, so she is naturally not considered a true sword god. Is this your choice? Are you willing to bury the nature elves, unicorns, treants of the elf garden with you? As they spoke, an exaggeratedly large greatsword appeared in the hands of King Von, the mountain giant king. Not far away, eight-winged seeker angel Elena also waved her divine staff, pouring down a brilliant light rain that enveloped the area. Ancient great elf Doris disappeared into thin air. She entered an assassination state. After evolving into an ancient great elf, Doris' assassination skills became even more powerful. There was almost a feeling of walking in the void. Even a powerful demigod would find it difficult to perceive her presence. Using the term elusive to describe her would not be an exaggeration. However, just as the war was about to break out, a mournful cry suddenly resounded from within the distant spatial barrier. Elf Queen Brianna looked up and immediately saw that the fire-breathing dragon beast was screaming. It was being trampled by the 10-winged angel who possessed control over spatial laws and was unbelievably powerful, and its head was pierced by a golden-flamed angelic sword. Without even a few cries, this renowned monster ancestor died. Almost at the same time, dazzling golden light radiated from the 10-winged angel. This is 48%. Chapter 279 Nasha, listen to me. A mutation occurred in the spatial prison, attracting Lin Yu's attention. The dazzling golden light came from his secretary N. Under the envelopment of the golden light, Secretary N, who was already elegant and noble, appeared even more sacred and unattainable, giving a feeling of a goddess descending into the mortal world. After killing the fire-breathing dragon, Angelia's rank has been promoted to demigod late stage. But this is just a small realm improvement, there shouldn't be any golden light anomaly. Speaking to himself, Lin Yu seemed to have thought of something. His pupils slightly contracted. He showed a look of surprise, mixed with strong shock. Angelia has evolved again. Lin Yu was extremely incredulous. He was dumbfounded. When she was first summoned, Angelia was just a 4-winged angel. After numerous bloodline evolutions, Angelia became a 10-winged angel of high status. Never did he expect that, in such a short time, Angelia would evolve again. The next level, she would become a 12-winged angel. The speed of this evolution was even faster than Lin Yu's level advancement. It was like child's play. Under Lin Yu's gaze, the radiant golden light had turned into a sphere of light, completely enveloping Secretary Anne's elegant and beautiful figure, until it was no longer visible. Bloodline evolution required some time. But the possibility of failure was small. Lin Yu was looking forward to Angelia appearing before him as a 12-winged angel. As for this war, it didn't require Angelia to take action to settle it. After all, he was there to suppress the battlefield. He was no longer the weak overlord who didn't dare to leave his territory. Now, he wielded 2 divine weapons. His own level had also reached the demigod realm. Even if a true god descended, it wouldn't be easy to kill him, let alone the peak powerhouses of this world who were only demigods. With him there would be no unexpected events in this war. Brianna, surrender. The mountain giant King Von held a great sword, giving a final warning. Impossible. Elf Queen Brianna was also a die-hard. She would rather die on the battlefield than betray her belief in nature and the goddess of the elves. At the same time, she secretly transmitted her voice to the woman in the golden dress beside her, saying, Nasha, this war is destined to fail, but I can't abandon my people. I need you to leave this place. No, Your Majesty the Queen. I won't leave you alone. The woman in the golden dress shook her head. Her true form was a demigod-level fairy dragon. She had the talent to teleport instantly. Unless the space was sealed and imprisoned, no one could stop her from escaping. She understood what the Elf Queen meant, which was to let her leave alone. Nasha, listen to me. Elf Queen Brianna said with a heavy expression, after this battle, Paradise Town will surely unify the entire Dark Forest, and its rise is unstoppable. I'm not asking you to live a miserable life. But I hope you will go to the sacred land of elves in the Far East and report everything about Paradise Town to the Elf Empress. The threat of the angel race is too great, and all the races in the world need to unite. While Paradise Town has not completely taken control of the resources of the Dark Forest, eliminate it in one fell swoop. Otherwise, the doomsday of all races will come. Nasha, now only you can deliver this message. Upon hearing this, fairy dragon Nasha's cheeks immediately showed a very painful expression. Her departure meant that she and the Elf Queen would be separated by life and death. Perhaps this would be their final farewell. Just at this moment, a strange power enveloped them. Elf Queen and Fairy Dragon Nasha instantly felt dizzy. Even their souls were rapidly corroded by this strange power. It's the angel race's divine art of faith. Elf Queen Brianna was shocked. After glancing at the eight-winged seeker angel Elena waving her divine staff, she pushed Fairy Dragon Nasha with both surprise and anger. Go. If you're a step too late, you won't be able to escape. Quote. Fairy Dragon Nasha gritted her teeth. She said, "Take care, Your Majesty the Queen," and then her body instantly transformed into a fairy dragon over 70 meters long. Immediately, the space around her twisted. Then, this colorful and beautiful giant dragon disappeared from its original location. Just in that instant, a jade-green dagger also stabbed forward. But it ended up stabbing empty air. Ancient Great Elf Doris lightly exclaimed, her figure appearing from the void, her delicate and charming face showing an expression of extreme surprise. There were no fairy dragons in the underground world. This was the first time she had seen a fairy dragon use this special talent ability. Being able to achieve spatial teleportation like a demigod powerhouse who mastered the laws of space, indeed very powerful. However, she didn't think much about it. She immediately stabbed toward Elf Queen Brianna, who was standing not far away. At the same time, mountain giant King Von swung his giant sword wrapped in purple thunder and slashed at the Elf Queen. A demigod battle erupted in an instant. 48%. Chapter 280 Great Prophecy. In the distant horizon, the demigod war erupted once again. Terrifying forces of law stirred up the winds and clouds. The sky seemed to be torn apart, creating a breathtaking scene. There were two battlefields, one in the north and one in the south. In the north, the Lich King and the Dark Archmage were besieged by three demigods from the Heavenly City: Radiant Saintess Tiffany, Six-Winged Angel of Strength Ida, and the Great Lolita Si Tang. Tiffany and Ida clashed with the Lich King and the Dark Archmage, using the holy and luminous laws against the necromantic and dark laws they controlled. Si Tang transformed into a 100-meter-tall black bone blood vine. Wielding countless vine-like tentacles, she relentlessly attacked the Lich King and the Dark Archmage with the power of the laws. The Lich King was her primary target. Having been betrayed and severely injured by the ancient Great Elf Doris, the Lich King was covered in wounds. Si Tang, taking advantage of the Lich King's weakened state, sought to end its life. One could see that the Lich King's body was covered in bloody wounds, and its pale face had two intersecting scars, giving it a ferocious and agonized expression. In reality, the Lich King was extremely powerful. Its level had reached the demigod late stage. In its peak state, it could easily take on Si Tang and Radiant Saintess Tiffany alone. But now, its heart was severely damaged. Its combat power was reduced to only about 60% of its previous strength. With Iota, the six-winged angel of strength, joining the battle, the Lich King was no longer a match. Even with the Dark Archmage assisting, it was at a disadvantage and clearly suppressed by Iota and the others. Damn it, if I hadn't been betrayed. With a slap, another wound was inflicted on the Lich King's body. It was instantly filled with anger and resentment. How could the mighty Lich King endure such humiliation? Not far away, the Dark Archmage, who was exhausted from defending against Radiant Saintess Tiffany's attacks, shouted repeatedly, "Your Majesty, stop talking nonsense. We need to break through and escape." "You won't escape." Radiant Saintess Tiffany waved her staff and devoutly prayed, "The Lord says, light shall envelop the world and expel the forces of evil and darkness." In an instant, a brilliant holy light appeared out of thin air. When it fell upon the Dark Archmage, it felt as if he was being scorched by the scorching sun, causing him to scream in pain. This was not elemental magic. It was the secret technique of the Holy See, the Great Prophecy. The 10-winged seeker angel of the angelic race could also master it. Its power was many times stronger than this. The Holy See's Great Prophecy could be considered a knockoff version of the angelic race's Great Prophecy. In the myriad worlds battlefield where gods roamed, it might not be considered much, but in this mortal world, it was an incredibly powerful forbidden spell. In just an instant, the dark law power enveloping the dark archmage was dispelled and purified. At the same time, the great prophecy, infused with the power of the light law, directly invaded the dark archmage's body, severely damaging his soul and causing him to emit smoke-like fumes. This was the purification of darkness by the holy light. Damn it! Why do you followers of the light always oppose me? The dark archmage screamed in agony while cursing. At the same time, he waved the dark staff in his hand, releasing a large range of black mist that enveloped the entire battlefield. It was clearly visible. Within the black mist, a very large figure appeared. It was a giant bird. It flapped its wings, let out a sharp cry, and then pounced towards Radiant Saintess Tiffany. The projection of the Hell Abyssal Phoenix. The filthy abyssal monster from the underworld, even if its true form descends, it will die. Accompanied by a cold voice. Six-winged angel of strength Iota instantly stood in front of Radiant Saintess Tiffany, then raised the angelic sword in his hand and slashed towards the Hell Abyssal Phoenix. Judgment of Faith. With a loud bang, a huge golden divine sword fell from the void. The golden sword radiated brilliance. Like a sacred cross. It transmigrated through the void and instantly slashed onto the Hell Abyssal Phoenix. This Hell Abyssal Phoenix, condensed by the Dark Archmage with the power of the laws, was instantly shattered and turned into billowing black gas amidst a mournful cry. On the other side, the Dark Archmage spewed out a mouthful of blood. Darkness and light are two opposing forces. Whichever force is stronger can suppress the other. Initially, when facing Radiant Saintess Tiffany alone, he still seemed to be at ease, and even had the upper hand. If it weren't for the interference of little Lolita C. Tang, Tiffany might not have been his match. After all, he had already advanced to the early stage of demigod many years ago. He was an old-fashioned demigod. But when facing Iota, the six-winged angel of strength, he was instantly defeated. If it weren't for the Lich King controlling his soul, he would have fled long ago and wouldn't have even thought of fighting. After all, he wasn't a fool. But the key problem was that the Lich King could decide his life and death. He didn't even dare to escape. If he didn't die at the hands of this angel, but instead was killed by the Lich King, where could he go to reason? Regardless, with the Dark Archmage also severely injured, the situation for this master and servant became even more dangerous. At this critical moment, the Lich King went all out and opened the gate of the underworld. In the blink of an eye, a large number of bone dragons, spectral dragons, death knights, and other apex-level undead creatures flew out from the gate of the underworld. In fact, summoning undead was the Lich's specialty. The undead scourge also came about in this way. Among these numerous apex-level undead creatures, there was also a supergiant monster that was hundreds of meters tall. Its entire body was dark, and it flowed with scorching magma. Seeing this monster, even the Lich King himself was stunned. He didn't expect that by opening the gate of the underworld, this time, he would actually summon the legendary Rock Demon. The Rock Demon, also known as the Lava Giant, is one of the abyssal monsters. Both in terms of bloodline and combat power, it surpasses the Hell Cerberus. It seems that Lord Death is not ready to make me his servant. That Lord Death is not ready to make me his servant. That Lord Death